Real rock, the reggae music, the good stuff. Welcome to those of you in studio. You okay? Coughing? Need a little water, something? You got it. All right, good. Those of you at home or wherever you are on your laptops, whatever you're watching on, greetings and welcome. I'm glad to see so many of you logged into the chat room. I see Aki Woman, I see Tony Rankin, S. Burke. In fact, let me just take a little roll call here, see how many folk I can call out at this time. Oh, Adeyemi, Ras Osajafu, Maxine C, Lioness, and some folk who have chosen not to present themselves in the chat room. Greetings and welcome to the 8th annual State of Reggae Reception. And I'm feeling very good about it. If you can bring the music all the way down. I'm feeling very, very good about it because we have a very distinguished panel here this year. You know, from time to time we change. Sometimes we have a panel. Sometimes we have a keynote speaker. But the state of reggae music is in such a state that we decided to get some big guns in here this year. We went for the big guns. Biggest of all, I'm going to venture to say, while tiniest of all, is Miss Patricia Chin, founder of VP Records, and before that, Randy's Records. I think Miss Pat has been in this industry going on, she's in her 6th decade of doing this work. So who else would be better qualified to speak about just what is reggae? And before we hear from Miss Pat, though, I want to introduce Sharon Gordon, who needs no introduction, chairperson, co-founder of CPR, host of Reggae Calling, journalist, and a whole bunch of other things. Just musicologist, cultural activist, and a whole lot more. I've had the privilege of knowing Miss Pat and Sharon for quite some time. But I must tell you that I came to meet Alex because someone sitting in this room this evening said to me when I had some questions about Joss Stone being the Reggae Artist of the Year, someone sitting in this room said to me, well, why don't you write a letter to Billboard and let them know how you feel? And I searched my mind deeply, and you know what? I wasn't quite sure how I felt because I realized I didn't know all I needed to know. And so rather than giving Billboard a piece of my mind, I reached out and asked a question. And I was expecting an email back in answer to my question. Instead, I got a phone call and spent a good 20 minutes on the phone with Alex Vitoulis. Now, Alex is the Associate Charts Production Manager at Billboard. And if I understand that correctly, that means you're the one who do the work. Whenever you see associate and all that other stuff, know that the associate is who does the work. The production manager just cracks the whip, and Alex does the work.
I'm one of the worker bees, yes.
I'm gonna take the privilege of saying that. But of course, what that means is Alex is the one whose feet we have to hold to the fire for what comes out.
And they get burned.
But here's a little bit of background on Alex. I grew up surrounded by music as my parents listened to music all the time. I have been in the industry over 25 years. Oh, got about 35 years to catch up to Miss Pat. Getting my start working retail for mom and pop shops. Been with Billboard over 20 years, doing what I've wanted to do since I was 10. So we know he's at least 30 years old.
At least.
20 plus 10 is 30.
Yes, I was crawling around the Billboard offices in my diapers, yes.
I think that's all we're going to say about Alex for now, because the point is, he ain't no newbie. He's been around Billboard for quite a while. And he wasn't there when Bob Marley was charting on the main Billboard charts, But we're going to talk a little bit about that this evening in terms of charting and so on and so forth. But before we get to that, I want to ask Miss Pat to talk to us about the beginnings, your entry into this industry and what you've seen over these many, many years from then till now. In 5 minutes or less, because I don't want you to take the entire evening.
Thank you for inviting me, and welcome, Alex.
Thank you.
And welcome to loving the music, because from a small child you love the music, so that is great. Sharon and brother. I'm happy to be here to share a little of my story. It's almost over 50 years since I'm in the reggae business. At first it didn't name reggae, it was just Jamaican music. Because we didn't have the title reggae as yet. So I was here from, we didn't have music. We used to, back home in Jamaica in the 50s, the late 50s. I was only 18 when my husband and myself decided to sell American used records, because we didn't make records at that time. We didn't have a music for ourselves. So
let's make sure we're recording this for posterity, because Miss Pat is saying some, and I know it's going to get deeper still. Yes. I'm sorry to interrupt, Miss Pat.
Yes. So that's where we started, going around the islands, changing jukebox records like Little Richard, Fats Domino, all the American records that they used to import and was placed in a jukebox. Then that was 1958, 59. I had my children at that time too. Chris was born 1959. And they all grew up in the music world. Then it was first Mento. Mento is a sort of calypso. Chin's radio service, Ivan Chin used to do Mentos. And we opened a small record store at 17 North Parade, like a 10 by 10 space. And I was telling Sharon that when 3 people came in the store, it was full. Ram-pack with 3 people. So how small it was.
Yep.
We used to buy 1 LP, 1 Percy Sledge, 1 Drifters, 1 of everything, because we couldn't afford to buy more than 1. So when 1 sell, we run and buy another 1. 1 needle, 1 adapter, 1 of everything. And then we packed the store with the used records. And then I remember in 1962, even when my husband started to record it, independent Jamaica, and a lot of Jamaican records started to make, the radio station wouldn't play them because they said they weren't good music. They just underwrite the records. So my husband had to hide in the nights after 12, 1 o'clock and beg the DJ to play a little music. And a funny story is that sometimes when I talked to Bunny Lee, I met Bunny Lee, he was one of the first pioneers too. When he couldn't get his record play, he would take the label from another famous record and put over his record label and get his record play. So there's a lot of fun, it's a struggle, but there's a lot of fun. And my store was right downtown, where we had all the artists come around, the producers, the singers. I remember Bob Marley coming around, Rita Marley, Dennis Brown, Gregory Isaac, you name it. Was right at the corner. They call it Idler's Rest. Idler's Rest. And anybody who wants to know somebody, or anybody that, we used to have a lot of foreigners from England trying to buy records or sign. We didn't have a contract, they just signed a piece of paper. It was so primitive, And
I think it was pristine.
Yes. At that time, it was just shake hand, and they would take the disc and they go to England and do what they have to do. And it was a fun place. Everything was happening on the sidewalk. The higgler was selling roast fish. Everything was happening there. Everybody was there. It was a fun time. But I see the need to help the young singers to not only knowing that they can sing, how do you sell and sustain yourself? You have to have a business to sustain yourself. So that was my journey, to help them, to really sing and teach them the business side. And I started, I don't know what you call it, because I didn't do business in school either, but I knew that if instead of walking around with the record and sell it one to different houses, why don't you leave the records with me? I tell them what consignment meant. I take the records from you. I try to sell it when the country people come in, jukebox people. A lot of people more would come to my store, and I'll try to sell it for you, and whatever I sell, I'll pay you. And sometimes I feel sad. Sometimes I give me 25 records and I only sell 5. And that was very hard for them. But I keep encouraging them. Make another one. You never can tell. You know, I just keep encouraging them to go on. And that's how we started. And we become friends and, you know.
Fast forward to today. What is VP Records like today?
Well, fundamental is the same, because I'm still developing artists and give them wings to fly. The selling of the music is a little different, because we don't have the, you know, I've started from the 78 to the 45 to cassette to, you know, it changes as the years go by. And today's digital. You just punch a button and your record is all over the world. Which it's good. It's just a new technology, but how to harness all those income for them and teach them how to, you know, to put the proper spelling and the dots and the thing on there. It's a learning curve for them too. So we're there day after day teaching them how to do it and how to collect the royalty for them and how to sell their music. So it's still a learning curve all over, but it's different. And we ourselves have to be learning the new technology. You know, to teach them, we have to learn who to go work with, which company to go with, how do we sell here, and all over the world. It's a learning curve, and it's very hard.
Thank you so much, Miss Pat. We're going to come back to Miss Pat later on, but now we're going to move over to Sharon. And by the time you came into consciousness and began to have an appreciation for the music, as Miss Pat did back in her teenage years, in your teenage years, Jamaica had Mento, Rocksteady, ska, and reggae music by that time. Tell us about your involvement with the music, and if you want to go back to your preteens, feel free to do that.
Well, first of all, thanks, Brother Carlyle, for convening this State of Reggae reception. Alex, thank you for making the trip. Miss Pat, bless your heart. And everyone here, it's so good to see you guys, really. Thank you, and everyone who has joined in the chat room. So for me, I was told that when I was born in October of 62. Jamaica became independent in August of 62. So that means my mother got pregnant with me sometime in February, I was told. And I was told that from when I was in my mother's belly, I would always move because she used to love to go.
We're going to limit you to 5 minutes like Miss Pat as well. Okay?
But I have to set it up.
I just want to let you know.
I have to set it up for you to understand.
I just want to let you know.
Nadine Sutherland's song say, "In my blood." I'm trying to, right, Pat, I'm trying to let you know, say, "In my blood." So I was told that when my mom used to go out a lot when she was pregnant with me, and I used to move in her belly. So I'm an independence baby. So when I was in my mom's belly is when Jamaica was in that time of festivity, of becoming a new nation state, as Miss Pat must remember, because that was a very important time in Jamaican history. And so I came into that environment. My mother owned a store on Orange Street near Shims, around the corner. Can't remember the name of that street. And so that was right there. Tommy's House of Fashion was the go-to place to get outfits and what have you. And she was sewing for Bob and all them before they were even known as celebrities, but the music was there. That's where the music was. And as a child, I would be there, and so I was exposed to it. Then we moved to Van Street, and living across from me was Carlyle and Aston from the Upsetters. And so the music again was right there. And many of you watching probably know that Beres Hammond, the now Beres Hammond, is my mother's youngest brother, my uncle, but at the time it was just Kojo. And Cynthia Slash and all of them used to hang out at my house, and you know, all of them, Bob and all of them were hanging out in front of the yard or at the house or across the street or at my mom's store. So I was always exposed to the music, Brother Carlyle, and just grew up being around all these people who would go on to become famous. I didn't know. I was just there watching them, feeling it, being a part of it. I danced as a child.
Didn't know you would go on to become famous too? Is that what you're saying?
That I would go on to become famous too. Well, I didn't think I'm famous, but I mean, you know, the music rub off, and I started dancing as a child for my primary school, and that also threw me into the music because that was festival competitions, and I started dancing when I was about 3-4 years old because I went to school. They lied about my age because I was a talkative child, and so they said I was older than I was, and I started school at a Anyway, so I was dancing at a very young age with Miss Campbell and Rex Nettleford and all of that. So again, I was, Miss Lou was a mentor. I was on Ring Ding. I was on TV, Romper Room. So I was always around this music and this culture. So I've been told by family and friends that they're not surprised to see what I do in my life because this is what I came here to do.
Okay,
was
well.
that 5 minutes? Alex, he's brutal with time, Alex. I just want you to know.
Getting nervous.
I want you to know. Yes, Alex, he's brutal.
Well, Alex is a very measured person, so let's see how he does with his 5 minutes. But Alex, as I understand it, you didn't have the privilege of growing up in Jamaica with this music.
No.
So tell us your story. How did you come to reggae music?
Just from my love of music and being around different people and hanging and meeting different people and being exposed to all the different cultures and different types of music, and you know, not only from what my parents listened to and my aunt and my brothers, but you know, just people you meet. And when I started looking at Billboard and looking at all the charts that they had, you become familiar with who's hitting, and when certain things start to cross over from their genre more into the mainstream, you become more knowledgeable. And then you seek to find out what came before. And I was always just very curious and had to know everything. And I think I'm still that way, and that's part of what I do is I have to research everything that supposedly comes out and categorize it so that it qualifies for our charts.
I think Alex's mic might be a little bit too loud. Engineer back there, please. So now we know how all of these folk came to reggae music, and of course, the question of the evening is, what is reggae music? And let me start with Alex and then go across the table one more time, because he still has time on his clock.
Wow,
Alex, make
I was under 5 minutes. That's great. To me, from what I've absorbed, it's basically a feel, a tone, the way it's delivered, and at times the rawness of that delivery. And you know, I know that there are many artists out there today that, you know, claim that they're reggae, but it's more of they incorporate their love of that reggae into it, and it's not really. I hate to use the word pure reggae because
talk the thing, brethren.
Because there are stuff that to me falls out of that pure reggae scope that still could fit reggae, and then there's stuff like, you know, I can give an example of like Sublime.
Right.
You know, it has a feel to it, but it's more of an alternative rock. It's really not reggae. It has reggae influences because that's the music they love. And I think that's part of the beauty of music is that artists take what they love and pay their homage, but reinterpret it because of everything they've been exposed to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Miss Pat, thank you for that, Alex. You mentioned that back in your formative years, the only Jamaican music you had to deal with was mento. Now, the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association has defined reggae in a very interesting way. Jaria says it has always understood the word reggae in its generic form. Reggae is all-encompassing. That means gospel, dancehall, roots reggae, mento, ska, rocksteady, and all other genres of Jamaican music. Is that a fair treatment and characterization of reggae? And I want you smiling, Alex. I might have to ask you to answer that too. But first, Miss Pat, age
Yes,
before
I
beauty.
think so, because even mentors, it's an expression of their feeling and what they're going through, and I think it's an expression of different the way we brought up, because back then they had a music called Pacamania.
Pocomania.
So that's also an expression of how people feel, and it's really, it's
So would that be reggae too?
Yes, I think it is so. It's so wide and it's so large. To whoever how they're feeling. It's organic. It's a feeling like it brings you to a different level. Because as you know, musicians, they would play melody as well as they play a different sound. It brings you to a different feeling. And something beautiful came out on Sunday in church. This man, I hope I'm not talking too long. This man was at his wits.
Take your time.
He was going to commit suicide, and he went up on a hill to jump off. And to the left of him, he heard some music playing. And he turned his head and he saw a little boy with an harmonica. And that the music just changed him completely. So music is such a beautiful and a powerful tool that it just brings, it could be a music of sadness and you feel a sadness, and it's happiness and it's rebellious, and it's just a freedom of expression. And that's why so many people like reggae, because everybody can associate one time or other in their life. They're going through a struggle as a teenager, they are rebellious. It's just a feeling of expression through the music.
Okay, before I get to you, Sharon, I'm going to jump back to Alex. Alex, last week I had a guest here talking about Rastafari. And in the conversation, he expressed that reggae music was not Rastafari music. Rastafari music is Nyabingi music. If we go with this definition that we just heard, Nyabingi music too would be reggae music. Where do we draw the line in defining genres of music?
I mean, at least it's a task that we take very
And you talked about
seriously.
pure reggae just now.
Yeah, we take it very seriously because, as we always say, we don't know everything, but as I want to try and know everything and make sure that we're making the right decisions and that we're giving the artist the proper showcase and light to, showcase their art and their talent. And to me, that definition definitely is a wide definition that I think encompasses most of what that is, and it gives at least a basis for people to go off of. And as I said, there are other types of music that will incorporate some reggae into it, but it's not considered reggae enough for our chart. And I think it has to do with encompassing that Caribbean feel, that Jamaican feel, and there's something extraordinary and there's something that's different within that music that has to transcend into other artists who, if they're claiming they're reggae, that it has to pick up on. It just can't incorporate and pay homage. It needs to take that wholeheartedly. And I think we've had this discussion over the phone when we were talking. I mean, there are many artists out of Hawaii that we have to look very closely, because some of it will have that reggae influence but isn't exactly reggae. But then there are other artists out of Hawaii, you just listen and at least to my ears, it is reggae. And
Okay. Sharon, let's get to this business of paying homage. In the year 1999, the BBC designated Bob Marley's One Love the song of the millennium. Now, One Love was a song that was paying homage to soul music, to Curtis Mayfield and Impressions and People Get Ready. Would that paying of homage then give us the license to say that One Love is really soul music because of the homage paying aspect of it?
No. And so for me, I might be one of the purists that you speak of, Alex, because I do come from a purist standpoint with this. I believe that wouldn't be, we're paying homage, but that song that Bob and his cohorts came up with was not a soul song. It was an authentic sound that is now known as reggae.
What made it that?
Well, this is where I'd like to go with this. I believe that reggae is like water. You know how you can fuse water with just about anything? But water, when you're drinking water, there's salt water, that is for, that's sea water, but it's water, but it's salt water. Burn your eye, what have you, good for certain things. Then there's river water, you go river, what them call fresh water, right? You have
And you wouldn't drink the
water,
Kalanga water.
and Kalanga water and all that. I'm saying water to folks who will get me. And so water, you can fuse water, you can blend water, you can have water by itself, right? And when you fuse water with certain things, you lose, sometimes you lose the water flavor. The water is important to whatever the mixture is, right? But then it might become Gatorade, so it's not water anymore, it's more Gatorade because of the additives that have been put in it. And so I think that reggae, because reggae is such, is for me, and I'll define it how for me, reggae is this sound that really represents the ethos of the oppressed, Brother Carlyle. Because that's where it came out of. It was a wailing music. It was a music that came out of oppression, right? Out of that oppression, just like the blues here, we had to sing. Our ancestors had to sing because they were so oppressed. And it was this music that would soothe the pain that they were feeling. So they would make a sweet sound, a wailing in pain. But it sounds nice. You ever think of certain reggae songs? I have friends that they would hear a certain song, and when I tell them what the words are saying, they say, "What? That's what it's saying? I thought it was like a love song," right? Because when you hear the rhythm, but then when you get the words, and so that's the beat part of it, right? Then you get the words. Now, what makes reggae with the words is the words that has a message to it, a clear message, a message that is speaking about whether it's social ills, injustice. That's where that to me is where it really is like social commentary then. And then because reggae is how it is, it has this calming effect, this soothing effect, because it's what we needed. We didn't need to be angry at the time, because if you got angry, then would have probably end up dead, So you had so this music now became something that we used to kind of like calm people and inspire them, but not get your energy too out there. The way, let's say, and gosh, I hope I don't get beat up for this, but there's certain rock then that energy is up there and it gets you in a frenzy and you're with
kind of acid.
Kind of acid, yeah. You knock your head and you do all of that. And you're people, that's fine if that's your thing. Reggae wasn't that. Reggae was more of a balm, like a poultice for your soul, right? And so what has happened though, if I may, because it was such a good template, and that's why I use water as it was able to be fused with so many things, and it worked. So, and because reggae came out of, because we can't forget what you just said. Reggae did come out of the influence of what the brothers were hearing, coming out of New Orleans and coming out of Miami and wherever the music was coming from to North America. That is what, but they took that influence and they created, it's like they say, you know, you carry us, you how can you ask us, what's the phrase? By the rivers of Babylon, how can we sing King Alpha's song in a strange land? So I am saying that they took all of those elements and made it their own and created this sound that is, by the way you check it, reggae. Reggae is reggae. When you hear it, you know that's reggae. Like Alex says though, you will hear some fusion and you will know that that fusion might be, it's not a heavy fusion, but it's nice. You know, but you wouldn't call it reggae, but boy, it have a nice little reggae flavor to it, but you wouldn't label it as reggae. And then you have some reggae tunes that have a soul flavor to it, but look at some Dennis Brown, Lovers Rock. Out of reggae we have Lovers Rock. It created, so powerful was the music, it created so many subgenres. That's how perfect the music was. It created so many subgenres, because like a tree, you could break it off, you know, it have the different branch there. So Lovers Rock came out of that. Dancehall came out of that. Jungle music come out of that. Reggaeton come out of that. Dub come out of that. Give me some, you know, so many things came out of it, but reggae, what Alex said, pure
Hip-hop,
reggae.
maybe?
Hip-hop, if you want to say, I would more line that with dancehall. I would more say that under the sub of dancehall, then hip-hop come from that. I wouldn't, if I was drawing the tree, the family tree, hip-hop would be under dancehall, like off, you know.
So already you're making a distinction.
I am making a distinction, and I do say that I, like Alex says, I consider myself to be a purist. Because again, and I think that has to do with the way I came to reggae.
Well, interesting. You talked about a balm. You talked about water. You talked about soul.
Oh boy.
And it was the album Water for Your Soul
Right.
that kind of drew Alex into this pickle.
Yes, yes, Alex.
Was that intentional?
I didn't realize I was doing that, Alex.
No,
Let's speak to Miss Joss,
Yes.
shall we?
Yes. Get that soul.
no, Alex.
Yes.
About this paying tribute.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pro-Jamaican. And I would like to believe that Jamaicans are capable and worthy of more than just one genre.
Mm.
And I believe that you would probably be offended if I said to you that rock and bluegrass and jazz and name all the other American genres were R&B. And put them all under one umbrella. And
Well, you could probably find that depending on what store you go into. They may just put it all under rock.
they may just put it all under rock.
No.
You see, I put it under R&B. How did you get it under rock?
They may just put it all under rock because it's everything.
Should I be offended when Billboard puts reggae and soca and calypso under one thing?
My question would be why are you getting offended, and why would you get offended?
I just said because I believe that Jamaica is entitled to more than one genre. Give us our props when we got it going on.
And what props are you not getting?
Dancehall,
It gets
you call it
flagged.
reggae.
It gets
Mentor, you call it reggae.
Well-
Rocksteady, you call it reggae.
Oh, I forgot about
It's-
Dancehall, you call it reggae.
I think you're
Ska,
maybe getting
you call
a
it
little
reggae.
too literal. It's like we name the chart the reggae album chart, you know, and it encompasses all those things
I'm
that
sorry,
you're talking
I'm sorry,
about.
I'm sorry. Maybe I should have asked, was Jaria correct in giving you license to do that when they say, all of what they say, rocksteady, ska, mentor, everything is reggae? Is that paying tribute, or is that dissing the folk who put into that music the elements that purist Sharon says defines reggae?
Well, it's giving you an idea of the span of the influence that this music has had over and across the music spectrum.
And
So
we take a bow for that.
Well,
Yeah,
exactly.
we appreciate
Yeah.
that.
So
But I don't
that's-
think it's doing it justice by calling it that instead of
Well,
paying tribute to it. But I am making myself a panelist, and I shouldn't.
No,
You're
please.
not.
Um, it's like when you look at the country chart or look at the folk chart,
Yeah.
and you'll see other stuff on there that is country, and at times country influenced or folk, and sometimes stuff cross pollinates. You know, and it's, you know, because as music gets out there, it, as you indicated, it breaks off, and you have new genres come to be.
Right.
And
So-
we have to come up with a base term to identify the heritage of the music that this encompasses.
I-
And the
But
industry...
notice what you said.
Yeah.
Genres develop.
Yes.
And what I understand Billboard to do is to fold them all on top of one thing, no matter what develops, it's reggae.
Well, it's on the reggae chart because it has that reggae Caribbean feel, and the influence is so prevalent that this is the proper home for it. Just like, you know, world is a very vast title. I mean, and before we started the reggae chart, everything was underworld.
Miss Pat, VP does compilation discs each year. You do a reggae compilation. You do a soca compilation. Why does VP choose to keep those genres distinct in the compilation of music?
Because there's a different taste for different people, you know. It is such a wide genre.
Are we hearing Miss Pat back there?
It's such wide, and it has different types of beat and elements, and as you know, we have the softer one, which like, you know, you have roots music, you have the rock steady. It is so wide, but I think they should all have their own little nest.
Little nest.
Yeah,
I
it
like
can
that.
be
Their own
big
little
reggae,
nest.
but it
I
has
like
to have
that.
a subtitle, whether it's a soca or the, you know, dancehall. Reggae is just is too generic for everything.
Well,
Reggae is too generic for everything. I agree with that. It can't be. We can't fold everything under reggae because you see, Alex. I think this is, first of all, I think this is a teachable moment because I believe that what has happened is, for too long, we have seen this happening, and I think that because those of us who, like a Miss Pat, who knows, like she says, that each genre, it needs its own little nest, right? I don't think that she was in a position to then say to a Billboard or other places like that, you know, you really shouldn't be putting all of them together. You know that you should really probably, okay, if you want to do lovers rock and roots reggae, and you want to probably push them over there, so you could get away with that. But believe it or not, lovers rock really is like a subgenre, and dub is really, you know, to really educate those who are making the decisions. I think what it is a lack of education. I think that because people don't know, so they just figure, oh well, it's all reggae, and they just fold everything in. But dub poetry is not dancehall, right? I wouldn't call dub poetry dancehall by any means, and I wouldn't call it lovers rock. You understand what I'm saying? Dub poetry is dub poetry. We have a dub poet right here. When he opens his mouth, he is not doing lovers rock. You know that he's here to you know, give you a poetic delivery on some powerful message, right?
And I would imagine that's why you have bluegrass
That's
as separate
right.
from country, as separate from the blues. And
Yeah.
I think that as much as the United States has the privilege of various genres, why must Jamaica settle for one? I'm offended.
well, I'm sorry you're offended.
Don't take it.
I'm not taking it personally. I'm sorry. You know, the last thing I know that we want to do at Billboard is offend anybody. But a lot of the choices that we do make rests on, in the same of naming is the recognition, and also you have to look at what your sales thresholds are. And to be perfectly frank, the reggae genre, with the amount of sales that get reported each week, is very anemic. Right. And if you splinter and continue to splinter off charts even deeper than we have, you're looking at stuff that doesn't mean anything anymore.
And might you have splintered too far? Would reggae be more appropriately placed in the world music category?
Well, we made the reggae its own chart due to the industry wanting it, because at a time it was a lot more robust. And so that's why we did it. And it was decided on by the chart manager and the bosses at the time what to incorporate under that. And if in this day and age this is not something that is viable, it's always something we're willing to look at and re-examine.
Well, was that robustness a false positive? And people will beat me up out there for saying this, but see, Bob Marley charted on the Billboard charts.
Still
regular
does.
charts.
Still
Not the
does.
reggae chart, the Billboard chart. Got up to 6, 5, whatever.
Well, he charts on the reggae chart too. Anytime a new album comes out, he's there.
It's there, yeah.
It is there.
But Bob Marley's been dead for 35 years.
Of course, and he continues to be on there. And
But
we
I'm
have
saying
two
that
different charts.
when he was releasing music in the late 70s.
We didn't have a reggae chart.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And he charted on the regular chart.
Yes.
These reggae songs, releases that are charting on the reggae chart could not make the regular chart. Is it a false sense then of arrival, if you will?
I don't look at it as that, because we're giving a space to artists to see their name, to show that they mean something within their community, and to see that they're the #1 reggae album, and that they're being accepted by.
Well, there again, I'd be offended if I had to wait on Billboard to tell me that I mean something in my community.
No, but it shows not only the community that it is, it's showing people who don't know about that, and people get to discover what it is.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's to me, it's...
Sharon wants to say something.
Please.
Yeah, and I know Miss Pat wanted to say something too, but I just wanted
please.
to jump in real quickly. Alex, you said something that I think is very important, and I'd like you to revisit that. You said something about probably it's time that we revisit the chart. And I think that's true. And I think that what you're talking about, can you just give people some history? When did the Billboard reggae chart come into being?
Sheesh. I would have to say it probably came in sometime in the 90s.
It was in the 90s. Pat, would you say about 93?
Yeah.
I'm thinking 93.
Yeah.
One of these forums.
I remember. Yeah. We had this conversation. Exactly.
Yeah.
And if Elena Umano is listening, I think she could back us up. I'm thinking, and I know that Adieme is in Trinidad listening. Adieme or Deborah, who is in Barbados listening, Deborah Boothman, either of them would know. But they could back Pat. I'm thinking it's about 93. Now, what was happening at the time, Pat? We know what was happening at the time. Miss Pat, you remember, this is when the Shabba tunes them was busting up the place. This is when Flex, Cobra, this is when those songs were, quote unquote, crossing over. Now, many of us at the time, Alex, many of us, purists, at the time said, but is dancehall that and a reggae? Them shouldn't put them together. And we were shouted down by a lot of people saying, no man, a reggae man, put the whole thing under the thing on. You understand me when I'm saying that?
I do.
Put it all together as one. And
If
we
listen
kept
dancehall, man, him know what you say.
these things. Okay, I just want to make sure that Alex is clear. But Miss Pat, in that time, I remember clearly, right, when we were saying, and Pat, you remember this, when we were pushing back and saying, listen, careful, don't label all of this as reggae because it's going to give the wrong impression. When Pepper Seed Boss and them tune the start lick down the place, that was straight up dancehall, but it was on the reggae charts. Am I right, Liz, Pat, anybody here remember that? That's what was going on. So the reggae chart got a buzz, really, and I'm gonna get hated for this, because of the big dancehall tune that was coming out. It wasn't necessarily the roots reggae music that was coming out at the time, because at the time we didn't have that push on roots reggae music coming out at the time. Does that make sense? So what happened is it's like the dancehall bust the reggae chart, right? And then And then we had that shift again where some roots music started coming back in. And that's where you have this confusion happening now, because you already set you set the parameter, what you call that, the bar with the dancehall music that was coming in, right? But then we have some roots reggae people start coming in now, and they all get thrown in right in there, and it all becomes reggae. And so you have a soca artist who doing a tune that sound like a dancehall tune that have a little drum and bass to it. It get thrown into the reggae. I remember when Miss Pat, I'm gonna let you. I remember when Miss Pat them did their first started doing calypso. You remember Miss Pat them brought in the guys from I worked on that project and Barbados. So the Crossfire. When I went to Crossfire, right? I was so honored to be a part of that first project with Edwin and Sean King and them bringing it in. But I remember Edwin and Sean them being very clear at the time that we cannot put any of those songs on. I forget the song that them had at the time. It was that big tune that Crossfire had. Pump Me Up. And I remember Sean King and James and them saying, we can't put that on the dancer on the on the reggae chart. You remember stuff, and that had to be. So that's what happened. I think that the music that was charting, like Alex said, was the dancehall tunes, but it was just labeled as reggae, and it just run with that. It just kept on.
Well, it wasn't the only thing that was getting flag reggae, but at the moment, because of what was going on, but also dance hall was birthed from reggae. So I would tend to think I wasn't managing the charts at the time, and when it started, I may have not even been there yet.
Right.
And it was just thought, this was where it was birthed from. So it felt like it was the most proper home for it.
Absolutely. I can see how that happened.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, can you? And I know. Well, let me. Miss Pat, Sharon said you wanted to say something, so.
We'll probably chat over it already.
Yes.
It's all right.
Yes. Go ahead. Talk to Alex.
I wanted to ask Alex about the degree to which the purists that you mentioned had a seat at the table, or have a seat at the table when these definitions are being made, when it is being decided to put calypso and reggae and dancehall under this reggae label.
Usually, to my knowledge, it's done from the bosses with the bosses of the labels. Okay, we're going to create this chart, and getting their input of what they feel should belong under this chart. And we don't just make a chart and say this is what it's going to be. A lot of work is done to connect with the labels that handle these types of genres and the products to better suit and have something that showcases and is a useful tool for them, and then also for the public to see and gain knowledge and want to seek out more knowledge and get an understanding of why things are on those charts.
And what I hear you saying is that it really is all about sales, because that's what the labels would be concerned with, and the purists later for them.
It's very possible, but the thing is, if you don't have the sales, there's no point in a chart.
Right.
We're trying to show what's most popular.
The charts and the sales.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing with the chart.
It is. And
well, the question then becomes, what drives what? Because reggae was robust at one time when it was able to chart on the regular Billboard chart.
And it still can.
Well, it isn't,
because
though,
the sales aren't there.
And why is the sales not there? Sharon talked about elements that define reggae. I'm wondering whether or not those elements continue to exist in the product that's looking to chart today. And whether or not Billboard is even cognizant of those elements and respectful of those elements. Why do I say that? I was very shocked when we spoke to learn that the bomb that Sharon spoke about, which is manifest in the lyrics of the music, is not considered. So the essence of reggae is not considered in defining music as reggae. How do I make peace with that?
What is used then if it's not the message?
Tell us how you define genres at Billboard.
I mean, I can just tell you how I define it, and basically it's you take a lot of things into consideration. One thing is, what the labels are telling you. Another thing is that you look at how it's being classified when it's being placed for placement, to get an idea of what they're telling the public this is. Another thing is you listen to it. And when you listen to it, you can tell right away something's classical. To me, from my knowledge, you can tell what immediately is, in a sense, a world music product when it's not in English. With how we phrase, we'll categorize some of the world albums. You can tell rock with the heavy guitars. You can there's a feel to the music, and in some of the music there's also the way that it's delivered. And we utilize that to base, and then also, especially when it comes to the religious music, you have to take into consideration what the songs are about, because that can determine if it's religious music.
What the songs are about is what I think Sharon was referencing when she talked about the element that made a song reggae. It's interesting that Miss Pat mentioned that this person was about to commit suicide and heard a harmonica player. Now, that didn't entail what the songs are about. That was a soothing sound that turned that person around. One of the, for me, elements of reggae music is indeed what the song is about. That makes a distinction between reggae and dancehall.
Yes, definitely.
What the song is about is a part of. Miss Pat, you want to say something?
Definitely, it's the words and the music. And most reggae, really true reggae, is out of struggle and rebellious to showcase your feelings of how you're feeling.
I agree.
And it's really the heartbeat of the people, which comes out in the lyrics, and then the music, wraps around it. But it's really the struggle of the people and the feeling and the expression that it gives off. And that's why, even if people imitate it, there's something lacking all the while in the music, because it's the true, pure feeling comes out from the expression of people's struggle and how to,
I'd like to piggyback on what Miss Pat is saying, because I'm
Jump
so
in.
glad you went there. This is such an important point that Miss Pat is making. I have noticed that when I used to party a lot, right? I don't party a lot anymore. When I used to party a lot, you could tell the reggae music that came out of, and I'm talking, Angie is here, Dr. Todd is here, greetings. We back in the 80s, you knew it. You knew it, like Miss Pat said. You didn't have to. You knew it. Saber the man is an American. He's here. Saber, you knew the difference. We talk about this. You knew when you heard a third world type tune then, or a Gregory Isaac type tune then, versus a Police, Sting and the Police. It's reggae, but it wasn't. It didn't give you that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what Miss Pat is talking about. That the way, and Alex, you said this when you spoke about that rawness. And I'd like us to speak about that rawness, because part of it, Miss Pat, is the cleaning up of the rawness, that edge that made us move from, let us go there, in cleaning up the sound and the delivery. I see people shaking their head. Miss Pat is telling you, she told you about the fact that Mr. Hokim and them had to pay people and get them to play the tunes, because you see, there's a certain, understand about Jamaican culture, we're a very classist society. So that rawness that came with reggae, when Toots, when sing and talk a certain way, when Bob and Peter and those guys, just think of them, Burning Spear, Culture, Joe Higgs, and when they sing and talk a certain way, that kind of robbed the uptowners, the softer type of Jamaicans who say hello, those Jamaicans, it did not go over well with them. And so it's a business, like Alex and Miss Pat is saying, and they had a business to run. So you had to create now something that would sell, something that people would be willing to purchase, and something that would communicate with more people. Now, I have always heard people say Bob Marley never change up him lyrics or change up the way him talk to suit nobody and the music continue to sell. But you see, Bob Marley's lyrics and Bob Marley's message is not being duplicated. That message and that lyric stands the test of time. It's like Shakespeare for us. And we need to recognize it for that and stop beating up on these things and go back and revisit that formula. Probably if we were revisiting that formula that Bob and Peter and Burning Spear and them was using, then probably Alex wouldn't have to be adding all of these other additives to the reggae chart. We would have a decent reggae chart that is reflective of the ethos of this music, which is what Miss Pat is talking about, that rawness, that thing that speaks about, that comes from the belly of a people, as opposed to, you know, the more poppy type of sweet sounding reggae.
You mean the Josh Stone reggae?
The Josh Stone water for your soul reggae.
A good example is like playing a CD versus playing a vinyl.
You see why she's Miss Pat?
You know, you can hear them so different if you grow in a time where you have all those. The CD doesn't have just
Tell them, Miss Pat. Tell
the
them,
rawness
Miss Pat.
of a vinyl.
Tell them, Miss Pat, the belly. Pick out your belly button.
I can be out there and I know a CD, the same song playing on a CD and the same song playing on a vinyl, and I can know them so different.
True.
Because I'm tuned to that
Yes, frequency.
That tone.
Yes.
It's the tone.
original feeling.
True thing, Miss Pat. That is so true.
Does any of this factor into defining the charts?
Well, with what we do, yeah, I would say that all of it. But, you know, our reggae chart isn't a pure reggae as chart. It's reggae and derivatives of it. And, you know, because what was decided from my knowledge when they did create this and they did discuss with the labels, they felt that anything that was birthed out of that scene and had enough homage and payment to that repertoire, that it should be on that chart, that it was the proper home to show that.
Well, let's take Joss Stone again. Joss Stone sold 29,000 copies, something like that. And in all fairness to her, her album came out in July, so it's still living its life. But that was her lowest selling album.
Correct.
And one can reasonably conclude that those sales were made by die-hard Joss Stone fans. Can it be said then that the rest of her fans didn't like reggae, didn't like her treatment of reggae, were treated to a unreasonable facsimile of reggae and will therefore not like reggae in the future, and that Joss Stone might have done a great disservice to reggae with that, and Billboard might have done a great disservice by elevating that to be the reggae album of the year and the reggae artist of the year.
Get it all out, brother C. Get it all out.
Well, let's go back to this. Everything you say could in fact be true, especially with a lot of the scathing reviews that were made of that album. But this album was done as a love and a homage to a music that she loved and followed in what we felt was enough of that form to qualify for that chart. Which just goes to show the influence that reggae has had and that had on that product that she chose
Billboard
to make.
Be reaching
But
when you say it has enough?
No, I do not feel like we did.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
And yes, could it have turned off people? Yes. Could it have turned some people onto it? Yes. We don't know, but it's not me who's making the decision of it being the best-selling album of the year. It was the public.
Well, except that it is Billboard that is making the decision in the first place that it is reggae. One of the observations that I saw made quite soon after this designation was made is that, but wait a minute, on iTunes it's not considered reggae.
Well,
on
And
Yahoo is
Yep.
not reggae.
Well,
so
any
Billboard
review-
made
no.
a decision.
It was made on a decision based on listening to that album, speaking with the management and the artist and the label, and looking at the elements and hearing those elements that definitely it was a reggae album. It might not have been a very good reggae album, but just because something isn't good, we're not going to not put it on the rock chart or, oh God, this is awful rock. We're not saying this is rock. There are going to be people who love that album. There are going to be people that hate it.
But the point is that I'm pretty sure the labels weren't saying to Yahoo one thing and something else to Billboard in terms of
yes.
defining what it is.
Of course they are.
Are the
They
labels
were?
talking
And
about
then
multiple sides of their
let me
mouth?
tell you, it's basically a thing of metadata. And it's basically also a thing of where someone may go to look for an artist. So a lot of things over the years, and we run into this all the time, you will have something claimed in iTunes as R&B, and you're like, this is not an R&B album. Oh, but their past 6 albums were R&B, so they're in the R&B section. So regardless, this could be reggae, this could be a rock album, this could be a rap album. It's still going under R&B.
But Alex, does that mean then that Billboard needs to re-examine how?
Hell
they are-
no. No way.
No?
Nope. Not with that, because just because the store puts something in
the
the wrong section, because that's where that artist section is, because most of their career is there, does not mean that we shouldn't put it on the chart of what that
Okay.
music
So-
is.
So let me ask you a question then. Let me use a song like Bruno Mars did a reggae song. Oh gosh. You know the song I'm talking about. But that album wasn't
No,
a reggae, but he had
exactly.
more than one reggae song on that album too.
So what we would do in
What
that
would
case,
you do in that case? Right.
the album would be pop.
Okay.
Okay, and when we break stuff down digitally, we may consider that song for the reggae digital chart.
Let me ask you another question now. Diana King is a Jamaican artist
Yep.
who does some reggae, but folks would say that not all of her music is reggae. Where
Yes.
would you put? And you know what I'm. So
Yep.
where would you put a Diana King?
It depends on, we would listen to the album, and if if half the album fits into the mold of the genre, we will put it on that chart. Because sometimes people mix a lot of stuff.
Right.
And at times there are albums that half doesn't fit anywhere, so it doesn't go anywhere. You
And
know?
I think Billboard is onto something in terms of, and I like your stance that you would not be following iTunes, who's going with the artist and
Yep.
not the music.
Yep.
The issue here, though, seems to be what Billboard understands the music to be, because we did some listening testing here, and our good friend Seba Damani, who's
yes.
African American, we played the entire Joss Stone album, and we didn't come up with more than half of it being discernible reggae.
Well, that's the key term you're using, discernible. You know,
That's being generous.
and
I could have said hardcore,
yeah,
which
it's
would never
definitely
make
not,
one track.
but definitely
but discernible
that
even.
that is, you know, your opinion, and
Absolutely.
and
And so the question becomes whether
Yep.
or not Billboard's opinion is an informed opinion.
I would tend to think at times, yes, we can be,
Uh-uh.
but we take every case and we look at everything very carefully. And like I say, the judgment that we make is not done lightly. And
Is there
as
some
I said, we
room for
spoke-
an organization like, well, I would say Jaria, but no, an organization like CPR having some opportunity to educate Billboard's decisions about
Well, of
this
course,
music?
we're always open to being
Especially with a Miss
informed,
Pat by our side.
being informed of different things to help educate us and further our knowledge. Because as I've said many times, I know in my position I do the best I can based on the knowledge I have
Right.
and what I'm taught, and I don't know everything.
And like I said, I was very impressed with my 20-minute conversation with Alex. It was, like I said, I was impressed because that fire in the belly letter that I had intended to write, I was happy I didn't write it.
I'm glad it was a teacher.
I was happy I didn't write it. Instead, I raised questions as I'm raising now, and Alex was good enough to have a 20-minute conversation with me, which is why I said, at the end of the conversation, I said, we should have taped this because this should not be just for my ears. My community needs to hear this. And I really want to thank you for coming this evening
thank you,
and being a
Alex.
part of this.
Thank you for
this
inviting me,
conversation.
and it's been an absolute pleasure. You know?
Miss,
I want to ask. I'm not the moderator. Sorry.
I
go
wanted to
ahead.
ask Miss
My
Pat
panelists.
as a label. How does this inform what you do in how you put out music, having heard what Alex just said? Or is this something that VP has always been aware of?
Well,
And does it even matter? Do you even care?
I think the Billboard go by sale. They go by sale to a lot of times. You know, if the record is selling and so on, if just feel to put it there, would put it. But I think we release our music in different genres. We don't mix them.
Right.
Because if somebody wants a soca album, we want to give them soca. If they want roots album, we try to give them roots music. If they want a dancehall, we try to give them dancehall. That's how we distinguish the different types of genre.
Does this mean then that VP discourages artists doing collaborations that result in an album that has multiple genres on a single album?
Well, as I said, the world is changing and collaboration now is really getting, because the music is so much wider now and we can reach more people, we try to give them variation of music, which, you know, you would have an artist that you like and you'd have an artist that you like. And if we can get them both singing
something, right,
collaboratively, it's good. It's a new
Yeah,
venture for
collaboration is
everybody,
good.
and it's giving people more choices.
The fans from both
the
artists
artists.
get to know
And
each other.
And when you
Yes.
look at the chart, we do list the name of the album, so you see that it's Soca 2016,
Right.
it's Reggae 2016, Raga Raga Raga.
Right.
So you see the different forms of reggae that there are, that are
Right.
out there. And, you know, that's what we try.
Alex, soca is not a form of reggae.
It's,
When will Billboard get it
it's,
through
Alex,
their head
it's-
that
Alex,
soca
don't let
is
them
not
beat
a
you,
form
Alex.
of
It's-
reggae?
Soca is not a form of reggae.
it's Caribbean flavored.
As a
and-
matter of fact, I'm seeing in the chat room, someone is offering what I think, I'm not sure if it's being offered as a category, but it says island pop. What is island pop? Are you familiar with that term?
I've heard the term before, and I mean,
Tropical
to me,
house?
it's.
Yeah.
But like when you break things down that far, it's so niche that you wind up with nothing.
Alex,
Is it
And-
really though?
yeah.
If we had a
Yeah.
category called Caribeat, which housed all of the Caribbean beats as you've housed under reggae,
Well,
it
that
wouldn't
would
be
be
nothing.
well if you put and you rephrase the chart. If you're saying change it from reggae to Caribbean beat,
then that's
it
different.
changes it a little. That there's some steel type of Hawaiian music that might be able to make it over to that chart, and that is something that if the industry wants, they can definitely bring up to us, and we can definitely look into maybe changing it, and maybe the threshold on that chart would be more robust.
Unfortunately, we're not the industry. We're preservationists, and
Oh,
we're
I
concerned
know.
about the preservation of reggae. And when reggae becomes calypso, we have an issue.
I hear you, and I understand.
And when calypso becomes reggae, we haven't. When soca becomes, we have issues, brother.
I hear.
Sharon, you wanted to say something.
What I think, what Miss Pat was saying, just to go back to what Miss Pat was saying, when VP releases, at the end of the year, they do, or whenever they do strictly the best. Now, those of us in the industry, we know that when a strictly the best album comes out, you know that it's gonna have the singles, all the, what would you say, the best selling singles over for the year. So you know all of the hot tunes them for this year is gonna be on there, but you know what genre you're dealing with. Then they do their
Strictly the best
soca goal.
Soca gold.
Now, if you are a soca person like you are, Brother Carlyle, even though he's a big reggae head, Brother Carlyle loves soca.
You give Brother Carlyle a Soca Gold album. He's happy because he knows that he's listening to soca. Don't put a reggae song on the Soca Gold, or he's gonna lose his mind. Yeah. So people know what they want, and that's what they want to go out and get. I think that what you're saying though is so interesting, Alex, in that Billboard is open.
Always.
You know, and that is how we have to be. That's why we are open, you're open, Miss Pat.
Course.
That's why we're here. The folks right here are open to learn and to,
Yeah.
we want to raise the bar, right? So we can have better conversations.
And maybe the name of the chart
might need to be adjusted.
Might need to be tweaked.
Yes.
Definitely don't.
Let me ask you a question though, Alex.
Yeah.
When you have a situation like what happened with the Josh Stone album, right? I went and read what the actual, was it you who wrote that scathing review of that album?
No, I did not.
That was not you, Alex.
No,
I'm trying to remember. I'm sitting
not
here
at all.
trying to remember the name.
It might have been Pat.
Pat,
No.
was it you who wrote that review?
No.
Who was the person? But somebody from Billboard.
It may have been a freelancer or someone on staff.
Totally.
A lot of people bashed it.
But and Alex, this was before, you know, I'm a little research nerd, right? So I went and I researched it and I said, wait a minute. This was from earlier this year.
Yeah, in
and
July.
This person,
I saw it.
they just dissed the album.
Yeah.
Miss Pat, I have to send you that review. You're going to laugh. Whoever wrote it, I said they don't like Just Stone at all. That was not nice. They didn't have to do it like that, but they tore it up.
And people aren't nice.
It was so surprising then for me, Alex, I'm saying, speaking to what you're saying, that here is Billboard, right? The review was in Billboard that tore this album off. The same Billboard turns around, and then she is then recognized as Reggae Artist of the Year and best-selling reggae album of the year.
Because that's not something that we dictate. We don't control it. The public controls it. So the public went out and purchased that album the most. And yes, it was her worst-selling album.
Yes.
But as a result of the units she sold, which just goes to show.
Right.
And another thing that I had brought up, you know, that the reggae isn't selling, and I know that happens especially also a lot with Hawaiian music. We've been, you know, petitioned many times by the community in Hawaii to put out a Hawaiian chart, and this goes back to just about when I first started. We look at the numbers; they're not there, but the numbers are there. But the stores in Hawaii won't report the sales. And I have a feeling...
Could that be what's happening with reggae too, Alex?
Very could be. It could be that where reggae is sold and the hotbeds for discovering this reggae music...
Like on Flatbush Avenue right here.
They're not reporting the sales to Nielsen. And if they don't report those sales, how are we going to be able to better reflect and show everything?
I've heard that the mom and pop stores that are selling that SoundScan, is you know, if it's not picked up by SoundScan, then it's not reflected in the Billboard charts.
Correct. If it's not picked up by Nielsen, we refer to SoundScan now as Nielsen Music.
Nielsen Music.
Yes.
And so, you know, they leverage buyouts and mergers and acquisitions.
Yes.
Things happen.
So I mean, we, you know, from at least my standpoint and the standpoint of Billboard, we want to get as many reporters as we can on the panel, and so does Nielsen. They want everyone to report to them. And I don't know why certain stores won't report. Sometimes it can do with money. They don't want to computerize stuff. It's too much.
Uncle Sam.
Precisely. A lot of it could be cash business, and once you have that data getting reported, it skews up what you're able to line your pocket with.
You know, attorney Lloyd Stanberry just put out a book called Reggae Roadblocks, and he feels like, you know, Jamaicans really need to get themselves together, and this is one of the areas that he speaks about. What can Billboard do to more accurately reflect?
Well, I know what's being looked at, you know, going forward is many different things. I know recently in the past 2 years, we now have what we call the Billboard 200 as a consumption chart, which not only does it take into account the actual digital and physical full lengths that are sold, but every track that is sold, and there's a formula for every 10 tracks equals one album sold, and then for streams, every 1,500 streams of a song, could be that same song, counts as an album sold. And as streaming continues to become more and more prevalent, you know, the formulas will be tweaked, but it also gives a better gauge, because even though sales actual physical sales of
It's down.
the music are down, the actual consumption of music is
Up.
It's up,
more than it's ever
Never
been
been.
in anybody's lifetime.
but it
Miss
hasn't
Pat-
been recorded yet.
Miss Pat, you talk about vinyl and the different fidelity out of vinyl. Where do these vinyls sell, and are they on Nielsen's radar?
I know the vinyl sell a lot in Europe
Yeah.
because they sell a lot in Europe, and a vinyl fan will always be a vinyl
Yeah.
fan. They always want their vinyl. It's an obsession that they know the difference between a vinyl and a CD. They listen to the quality. They give
Yeah,
you that
real musicologists, they want a
real-
vinyl.
real-
They want a vinyl, yeah.
And what market does Billboard look at?
Well, the
Does
market
Europe-
is the U.S. now. No international sales. It's
Okay.
always just U.S. and
US.
Puerto Rico and
Okay.
Hawaii, you
Okay.
know, and Alaska. You know,
That's it.
yeah, U.S.
There was something else I wanted to ask about
Sure.
that. In today's newspaper, there's an interesting article in today's Gleaner. In fact, Lloyd Stanberry again posted an article in the Gleaner concerning artists complaining about, today's election day in Jamaica, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
Anybody
yeah.
know the results yet? Let us know.
Not yet.
The artists are complaining about the campaigners using their music in campaigns. And there was this big article in the Gleaner about it. And of course, somebody commenting on it took the opportunity to blast the politicians and hoped that the artists were getting their just due.
And
It turns out that JAMS, the rights organization in Jamaica, commented that both parties have in fact paid their dues and the artists are getting compensated. I raised that to say that the fact that that article was even in the Gleaner at all speaks to the nature of journalism.
No, it is.
I think it speaks to the nature of human behavior to an extent, because the way that politicians are going and using music in their campaigns, it's pulling on people's emotions. And the artist's problem isn't that they're not getting paid for it, it's that having that candidate play their stuff, they feel that their fans feel that they are supporting
Absolutely.
that candidate.
Yeah.
Well, that's a
And
different story, but the real
that's-
story is that it's the way campaigns happen in Jamaica. It's a public rally. It's a dance hall situation where the music is the main thing and the political
crowd.
speeches is the sidebar, really. But people come out. The music is a part of the experience. Has always been.
Yep.
And there was a time when artists were proud to speak a certain message
Max Romeo.
in the music. It's what Sharon talked about earlier about the lyric content of the music. And so artists were proud. Some of the music that's being played really doesn't speak to politics at all. We just spoke with Vegas on Tuesday night. He just put out a song, Give Me Back Miss Sweet Jamaica. He's proudly putting out a song that speaks to the political situation. What the complaint is just that the songs are being played, and what about the royalties?
But that was just one complaint, Carlyle. There, if you go and you read more of the
Right.
comments, the people are speaking about what Alex is saying too.
Yeah.
That
I
they
understand
don't want
that.
their artists. They have, how Jamaicans get about their artists. My artist that, and they don't want their artist tune being associated with X party or Y party. And so when I read some more of No Politics, and so when I read some more of the comments, I was like, oh my God, these people are going in on this. You would think that they would be more concerned about the money, but they were more
No.
concerned about the fact that Carlyle is associating, Carlyle is a big labor right. Why the PNP using him song, or Alex is a JLP, why
And-
him using, and that is where I think
And
for
that's-
Jamaica, that
that's a legitimate concern.
It
My
is.
concern, though,
It
is how publications drill down before they put stuff out.
well, that speaks to what Alex said about a while ago, and I'll speak. as a journalist, that one of my biggest, and when we open up the third part of the harmony, Pat Mosquito is here, we'll get a comment from her about that. But I believe that I'm very disappointed in the level of journalism that I see being practiced today. It's all sensationalism. That's what I'm seeing. I don't see journalism being practiced at all. I think that everything is about sensationalism, the quick, let me get a quick reaction to something. When we look at how people are not researching anymore, there's no way I would have written an article like that and submitted it to the Gleaner and have not checked to see that artists were getting royalties from the politicians. It would be in my story. It's a story about the elections, politicians using artist music. But it wasn't their part.
And I say all of that to say that I commend Billboard and I commend Alex and what he has said about the process.
Absolutely. There is a process.
There
is a process. We might have a
I might
challenge
have some
with
issue
it,
with how informed Billboard is in applying the process, but at least we know there is a process that takes into consideration things that ought to be taken into consideration. And we have to commend Billboard for that.
Yeah.
And changes take time.
Yes.
They have been doing it so many, but everything has changed. So you have to take time to change things.
And that's why I say, Ms. Pat, that this Alex coming today, you coming today, and everyone who is here is committed to that change. Folks who are in the chat room, I have friends listening from all over who have reached out to me that they are listening because they are concerned too. They want, and change is happening. Fusion is taking place. We know that. But let us not lose sight of the essence of this art form. It's very important that we understand that reggae is not just some little slabberdash music. Reggae is not just some little pop sound that you just. Reggae is serious music, and part of the thing is, gone are the days when we used to have musicians artists who would reason with their elders and reason amongst each other, and then that synergy would then, vibrate on a certain level. A song would come out of it. Even in the delivery, the playing, the putting it together in the studio. The band members. Even your drummer
Sharon,
might add a little something to it.
Tell us a little bit about your experience in the 70s with the process before the music got to the studios, when Dennis and Bob and Bunny and Pete and all of them were actually playing this music in the dance hall before they even got to the studio.
Well, I can tell you that. Thanks for asking me about that, Brother C. When I was a teenager at Alpha, I used to, was not allowed to go to these dances, right, Angie? Right, Jeannie? We couldn't go to these dances, but of course we were going to go, so we would sneak out and go. And so it was the norm for me, let's say I was at a 12 tribe dance, to see Dennis and Bob. It's Joseph time now. It was their birthday. February is their month. So the big Joseph dance, when you go, everybody's in full white. You'd see, like I said, Bob and Dennis and everybody there. And a song, let me give you an example. A song like Heathen. For years, I heard that song for years, long before it even was put on record. Heathen backed up on the wall was Bob in the dance with Dennis, them doing that live on the mic, and that can go on for an hour. Just see the Eden back there, and is everybody chanting on it. And that another song, I'm a Gideon, that we hear Bonnie Wheeler doing, and those are songs. Those kind of songs were songs that we heard when we went to 12 tribe dance. Those were anthems in the dance. Them songs that never go up on wax. Them songs that, I forgot, I'm not just being. Those songs were not placed on wax. They were performed in the dance, on the microphones in the dance. And the dub is what they used to, be chanting over and singing over. And so a lot of times we were exposed to these songs years before they became actually released on our 45. And you'd say, rotted. That upon a 45, I mean, I can remember when Bob did the album Exodus. I can tell you that there are several songs on that album that we used to dance to at 12 Tribe for the longest time. And when we heard them on the album, we did vex. Sharon is sitting here and she knows, my cousin who I lived with and thief out many a nights. She would tell, we vex because how that song must end up on the album. We felt like we owned that song in the dance. It's not supposed to be out there for commercial consumption. You understand what I'm saying? It was a way, and so we felt totally upset because no, it's a commercial song now.
Well, speaking of that, is that what is happening within the Jamaican community with regards to reggae and Just Stone singing it?
What do you mean?
Do people feel offended, feel vexed because how she feels sing that?
But I have two feelings about that. See, and I'm just keeping it real. I'm coming back again to Jamaica. You see, the reason why we're in the problems we're in now in 2016 with this music that has taken it, this is the stone that the builder refused, you know. Reggae and Rasta go together. And they're the stones that the builder, reggae and Rasta are Jamaica's gift to the world. In the 20th century, we gave them a lot of gifts. Marcus Garvey, yeah man, we gave them a lot of gifts. But you see, reggae and Rasta are the two gifts we gave that have continued to give and just give back and give, just the gifting and gifting and gifting. Those two were treated like stepchildren. You hear what Miss Pat said? In her day. No, can you imagine, you know? Miss Pat is a little China lady. And she's selling what them call the Racha music. That's what them used to call it, you know. You think so she got love for doing that? She might not say it because Miss Pat is just a very nice and decent person. And she won't say that. But I'll tell you, that as a little China lady, she and her husband was not loved for doing that because it's the little dirty boy them. They were enabling and teaching about this business. She was not loved for showing them how to go about
To sustain
themselves. She was not loved for that. Alright? So you see, because this music, you see them say, you know, whoever gone by the morning can't come good evening. This thing from the get-go was not embraced by the powers that be. And my God, is this little dirty Rasta boy Bob Marley go out there go turn big star? How the backside that happen? Oh shoots, we have to start embracing now too. Oh my God, everybody love Bob Marley, then we have to love Bob Marley too. Oh my God, this thing named reggae gone out into the world now. So Patchin was right. She and Vincent did right. Rotted, VP Records, I do good in New York, you know. Let me jump into the record business now too. Let me do little roots reggae too and little reggae and the little dancehall boy them. What she been dealing with forever, you know, but them jumpy now and would I like to push VP anyway. You get the point of what I'm saying? So here it comes now. You have people who never embrace this thing from the get-go. And if them embrace it, them treat it with the scorn. When Bob say, they look us with the scorn. Understand what Bob is saying? They look at that thing with the scorn. And now it's that very same thing has become now the thing that everybody is knowing Jamaica for. Reggae and Rasta. You think them happy? So who is this girl now, Just Stone? Who come now? Who tell her she can come? But she a sing reggae. Who is she? You have those set of people. Then you have those people, oh my God, Just Stone is doing reggae. Oh my God, I'm so happy she's doing reggae. And then you listen, oh my God, it's not reggae. Oh no, it's not. It sounds like, okay, we'll just say it's reggae just to, but it's not reggae really. And then you have those who are so upset that they make this thing get away from them, that them just vex with everybody. And of course, you ever read some of the comments? And that's what we're dealing with right here. A bunch of mad people. Alright? When you talk about cognitive dissonance, a study in what has happened with Jamaica and reggae and our culture is a study in that, and we have very intelligent people in here. So if it's a wrong phraseology I'm using, please help me. But I think that's the phraseology for it. Because I think that they have lost their minds. They have lost their minds. You see, somebody said to me years ago, the only reason Jamaican people embrace Bob Marley is because he was a Rasta man with money. If he never have no money, God help him. The only reason people embracing Bob Marley, picking them, was told to me, is because in picking them have money. Make them did have broke. How come nobody not embrace Dennis Brown picking them? How come nobody not embrace Peter Tosh picking them? How come nobody not embrace Toots picking them? Let's go there. I'm gonna go another place now. Are you ready? Are you ready for where I'm going now?
I'm ready.
Let me get ready to go there.
Go with it.
Anyhow, Bob did black like Peter. I don't know if we'll be here talking this story right now. Because Jamaica is a very color conscious society and they don't like to talk about it. That's why I come back again to Miss Pat. How dare Miss Pat with her little Chinese self talk about she ever help them like a dirty black boy there. You see who she helping? Isn't that the time? She won't say to him, come spot is nice. She won't say these things. But I am telling you, 60 years ago, can you imagine? All of you in years in Jamaica, am I lying? No. Can you imagine 60 or 50 years ago, she as a little China woman downtown, down a Coronation Market, them days they wouldn't even know if we put on deodorant and all them little things there. So you can imagine the smell and all them things that we have to deal with. And the kind of racha.
Peter used to be it before me.
I didn't say Peter. I'm not calling anybody's name personally. I am just saying in the general. I'm speaking in the general. What I'm saying is, it was not embraced. Okay? It was never embraced.
But she fought against that.
She did.
Yes.
And that's why we love her.
Look at the legacy she
Thank
has
you.
created.
Yes,
I mean, everybody knows VP.
And right now,
everybody respects that
Absolutely.
label. And to have an album released on that label means the world to those artists.
Absolutely.
They've made it.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter if they sell one item. She released their
she's on
record.
VP Records.
That's right.
And them love Miss Pat. And that's why she's love Alex. So you see, Alex, you get in it. And that's why Miss Pat is loved the way she is loved in the community. Because those people know she never looked them with the scorn when others did. Do you see what I'm saying to you? When others did. So that's why the Just Stone argument is such a, it's pure confusion.
Let me take it to another level. You wanted to say something, Alex?
I was just going to say, again, per our review, half of that album met that requirement, and that's why we did put it on. And
Pushing the envelope.
Why Alex, the album
yes,
is soft
in
with
our
it.
opinion,
Alright.
half of that,
Alex.
and have you guys read any interviews on the album and anything behind it about her?
Yeah,
Yes.
we did. Oh no, we do.
I
heard an interview.
Like she was not
I heard an
particularly
interview
anxious to do it.
the
She was
album.
kinda
She was
cajoled
encouraged
into
to
doing
do it. Yeah, by Damian Marley, who tell her must go ahead and record it. I read some stuff, but you see, that was some opportunist business going on right there too.
May
Damian
very
is my
well.
brethren, Damian, I'm just calling it out. That's some opportunist business.
It's a business.
All right, it's a business, and he saw Just Stone and knows a Just Stone. Watch have a little vibe, maybe work with her.
But don't you think it is misleading to the public when they say they pick up there's a best-selling reggae album and get disappointed?
There you
That's,
go, Miss
that's
Pat.
bad for us too.
There you go, Miss Pat. There you go, Miss Pat. Did you all hear what Miss Pat just said?
It's kind of like
Did you all just
What I've been
hear
trying
what
to
Miss Pat
say.
just said? Let Miss Pat, please, Miss Pat, have the mic. She
say it
speaks
again, Miss
softly,
Pat, please.
It's very misleading to the public when you're going to say this is the best reggae album for the year, and when they buy it and they take it home, they're not going to trust that headline anymore.
Yes.
Very misleading.
You hear that?
It's not
See,
not
they
the
said it.
best.
It's
It's
See,
not the
there are
best
two
reggae
categories.
album. It's the best
Best-selling.
selling. There's a difference.
Okay,
but
all right.
but Alex,
So, yes.
but Alex,
But it's a good point.
that works when you make it the album of the year. When you make Just Stone the artist of the year,
Well, it's
it
Yep.
speaks to the purveyor of the music.
well. Let me
And-
explain that to you as well, because we have two different charts. We
Okay.
have the reggae chart, and then we have the reggae catalog chart. And on the reggae chart, you have to be out less than 18 months in order to qualify for that chart. Once you hit 18 months old, you go catalog. And then you wind up on the catalog chart. All our recaps are based on the current chart. So out of all the albums that were classified as reggae this year, she sold the most in that calendar year.
And I'm good with that. Even though I don't
but
like the
if-
classification.
yeah,
But
of course.
But the criteria
when you
makes sense.
yeah, but when you look at all the reggae albums of the year and what they sold, you're going to find out that the best-selling reggae album was Bob Marley Legend.
then he is the reggae artist of the year.
Well,
and you see,
it's-
if that were done, it would speak volumes to
To these
reggae
people.
music
And-
and what is reggae music,
and-
the subject of
And
this
that's
conversation.
another thing that I
Because
brought up as well. I'll mention now, and I know I'm still in discussions with my boss, because I said, with the units being so anemic, what about opening up like we did for the Billboard 200 a couple of years ago? We opened it back up, that we let catalog back on that chart. What about with some of these smaller charts where the units are so weak? If we let the catalog come back on and just treat it as an overall chart? And it's being discussed.
Interesting.
We'll see what happens, but I've looked at it, and most of Bob Marley's albums would be populating
The chart.
the chart.
And it would say something about a standard for reggae. Because what you have done is you've set up Joss Stone as the standard bearer by naming her the reggae artist of the year. She ain't no standard bearer for reggae.
It's all interpretation, and it's the way you guys are interpreting that, because
And that's
not.
for you, man.
And that's
She's the
not
artist
what
of the year.
Alex, can I tell you something?
What can the artist?
She's
no,
the best
artist.
selling.
That's not what
There's
your
a
chart
difference.
says.
But
But
guess
that's
what?
what it's based
But
on.
you see
If
this
you
right
read,
here, brother. See, but you
it's
see this
based.
right here. This is a conversation that was going on out in the public.
Yeah.
This is it right here. What you and Alex are going through.
Yes.
I heard people saying that she was given a Grammy. I had to say to them, no, the Grammy is not till February. She was not given a Grammy. People say, how come she a Jamaican? Only Jamaican can get. I said, no.
Let's
Only
not go there.
Jamaicans
Let's
cannot
not
get
this
reggae. But I'm just
conversation.
saying what Alex is saying. This is what it is. What is happening is people are just speaking from this emotional place.
Yes.
Like when Pat pointed out, best selling.
Yeah,
Selling.
but I think it's good that people are talking.
The
People,
album of the year, we understand. This is a
Selling.
trade magazine. The
Selling.
album of the year is based on sales.
correct. So
artist-
it's the
artist-
artist.
We do.
And the artist
A
of
lot
the
of
year.
people out there don't,
Yeah,
and that's
and-
why the confusion reigns.
Well, let's speaking of the artist of the year, Sharon said something earlier that I want to get back to, and that is the content of the music.
Yeah.
Now, recently I was listening to an interview on NPR, and they were interviewing the translator for President Ahmadinejad when he was at the UN a few years ago. He had also worked at Island Records and was familiar with the reggae industry. And so at the end of the interview, this was all about, geopolitics and Iran and the United States and Ahmadinejad. But at the end of the interview, because he had worked at Island Records, they asked about Bob Marley and reggae. And the interviewer wanted to make it seem like this was going to be a conversation about weed.
And try to
And
trifling about
the person being interviewed stopped and said, no. Well, he had pointed out that Bob Marley was extremely popular with people in Iran,
The young
young people in Iran. It was at the time of the college uprising in Iran. And he said, no, let's not go down that road. Understand that the lyric content of Bob Marley's music is a significant inspiration to those college students who are making revolution in Iran. The lyric content is an important part of what defines this music of reggae. And for Billboard to not even consider it in defining what reggae is raises the question of, well, what is reggae? That you could dare have a chart and determine the reggae artist of the year without
And-
giving any
and-
consideration
and
to
again,
the potency
I will.
of the message
I
in the
will-
music.
And again, I'm not going to just disinclude something based solely on just that lyrical message.
Not solely, it should be an amalgam.
Well,
And I'm not arguing for
yeah.
the sole inclusion. I'm concerned about the exclusion.
Well, we didn't. Yeah, that's what you're looking at, and I'm. Just because Joss Stone, we'll use her because she's the hot topic tonight. Did not meet the criteria to you as being lyrically giving that message, and the album wasn't overall a whole reggae album. You felt it should be excluded, and
Not the album. I'm talking about the artist of the year.
see, that artist is based on those sales.
And I'm saying that
So
the basis for determining an artist of the year cannot be just sales.
That's what our charts are based on, and
That
that
is-
is what
And
we
I
are-
think that needs to be
And that's
revisited.
where the problem is.
and I think that's more of a contractual thing, that our charts are based on Nielsen Music's information, and all the recaps that we do are based on that information we receive from Nielsen.
Do you understand the point? though,
Oh,
that-
I understand your
that
point, and
Ms.
I
Pat
don't
just made
Yep.
about
The message.
it
Misleading.
being misleading.
Yeah.
And
Very
I
misleading.
think,
And
but
being detrimental to the music in the long run
Right.
to me,
by virtue of
it's-
that.
I don't think it's going to be detrimental. I think it needs
It
to
has
be.
been.
people need to be educated.
We still need
It's all about education, because
It
if
is.
people
Well-
understand how our charts are compiled and comprised and what they exactly are based on, and we specifically say it is, they can understand. We're not saying she's the best reggae artist or that she's the greatest reggae artist or that she is overall a reggae artist. We're saying for this calendar year, she released an album that was deemed enough for inclusion in our reggae tabulations, and out of all the albums that are current-based albums, she sold the most.
And you would be
And
good.
that's
You would be cool with the Coalition to Preserve Reggae Music, saying to folk, don't pay
No.
Billboard no mind, because I'm really not talking about the music. They're just talking
I'm-
about sales. It's a
but-
trade magazine, and that's all it is about.
But
sales.
if you look
don't
at-
pay them no mind when it comes to
But if
what
you
is
look-
reggae.
But what we show is what actually is selling, that's reported to us in those genres that we classify. And unfortunately, with a lot of these niche genres, we don't have enough of a basis of people and stores reporting to get a better and more accurate accumulation of what is going on. And that's why we're always in discussions of ways to better reflect and better look at that. And as I previously mentioned, maybe encompassing this and making,
Wider sampler.
you know,
Well, I totally get it. Billboard is a trade magazine, and maybe CPR needs to put out its list of profound reggae music, the top 10 profound reggae music of the year.
that, hey,
Of the
who
reggae
better
source,
than you
right?
guys to say that?
Can we collaborate with Billboard? Is there an opportunity for us to collaborate?
That is definitely something I can bring to my bosses.
We will
But
have
you know
that.
something?
We
And
will have
maybe
that
should have
conversation.
a wider sample
Yes,
of
yes.
people
Involved
getting
in the
involved.
decision making.
That's what I'm saying.
Alex, you know what happens? I think but I hear you and I hear and I hear and I understand. I mean,
Yep.
we understood it after Brother
Yep.
C spoke with you and we examined it further. We understood exactly, and this is what happens. Because we are passionate about this music, and for us, for you, it's the business of the business, the sales.
It's a bean counting
and who,
thing.
Right. Because we are passionate. For example, you'll have an artist that his song is all over the place. And when you check it out, Alex, all right, I'm going to use an album. I will not call the name. About 2 years ago, or somebody here will remind me, or a year ago, there's an album that, people love certain songs off that album. It was so popular. And yet, when we saw and heard about the sales of the album, it was dismal. It was pathetic on a major artist, major release. And when you looked at the sales of the album, it was pathetic. I think it speaks to
People not
the
giving the
elements
reports.
elements having been diminished. Probably, I don't know. To what Ms. Pat just said, people not reporting
Yep.
consumption versus purchases as usual. I
Yep.
mean, we have to look at all of these things, but
And we
something
are.
is wrong.
Of
Something
course.
is very wrong because, like Ms. Pat says, if we are giving them something that is not really true, if a person is right, authentic, then they're gonna get turned off and say, "What kind of foolishness this are?" I'm not checking this reggae stuff out. That's not what I don't like that. Because if they think that Just Stone represents reggae, and they're hearing that, and they're not really feeling it, as opposed to it probably will put on, give me somebody, guys, a Taurus Riley. I'm just throwing somebody out there, and they say, "Oh yeah, that sounds good." So we have to be mindful how we go about this, and that's why I said it's a teachable moment. I really believe that we're raising the bar right about now. This is a teachable moment for.
Because we're talking about
Yes,
it.
yes.
It's a discussion.
Let
Wow.
me take a moment to apologize for the absence of our commentators. I expected for us to have Big Youth
An assassin.
and Assassin be a part of this. Of course,
Elections.
the elections in Jamaica, we've just been informed, folk are just so engrossed in what's going on down there that they're not about calling in right now. They're
They're in a different world.
They're in a
Understand.
different
Very different
world.
word. And it's so ironic that the forum happened to be today. Because though they both expressed how much they will be indoors by then, but from what we're hearing based on the notes and what we're getting, things are hot in Jamaica right now. So it's all right.
It's
We
all right.
understand. And we'll get them on. I mean, we have CPR
Another
Live. We'll get
time.
them. But the studio, there are people here, Brother
What,
C, and I see a lot of people.
what I'd like to do, though, is invite folk in the audience to come forward and ask a question of the panelists or make a statement to the panelists. I want you to come forward and take my microphone to do
Giving up
that.
his mic, y'all.
Because I need this to be, I want the folk out in the world to hear it. So you're going to have to just right over here
Right over.
and just
You can't hide
stand
Keisha.
right here.
Keisha Martin in the house, CPR.
Keisha
member, the chef for the day. I'm telling you, the food is on and popping. I'm sorry, I just gotta say. Keisha, you pour it up. All right.
So, first, I'd like to say thank you all for actually, it could be anywhere else, but you actually are here. Everyone that came, Miss P, definitely appreciate. And I'm just like soaking up all the information that's being given, especially about the Josh Stone situation. And my actual comment is going to be with regards to the Billboard reggae charts. Since Billboard has a reggae chart as opposed to pulling in all the Caribbean types of music and genres, why not call it the Caribbean charts as opposed to just respecting the fact that reggae it's so broken down into so many different categories? Why not call it the Caribbean charts? And I think that would be more respectful. And so that's my comment with regards to that. And my question is, for the entire panel, is who are these fans that are purchasing Joss Stones that put her on the map? Who are these fans that are buying this music? Because, and how is that verified?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Alex, I think that's all you.
Let me start.
Thanks, Keisha Martin.
Thank you, and thank you for the meal. It
Yes,
was delicious.
It's delicious. I'm
delicious.
telling y'all, dope. Anyway, we have more.
First, with the name of the chart, as I had mentioned previously, that's always something we can look at tweaking. I just know that when it was started in probably about 93, 92, that was what was decided on with the bosses at the time and the labels who were spoken to and consulted. And maybe it is time that it get changed and be more open so that people don't misinterpret, because I know that happens all the time. People do misinterpret despite what it is.
Yeah.
Even if it's spelled out somewhere, they don't always read it.
True.
I'm just respecting a culture, a movement of people that have built this thing here, and just not to be offensive.
Yeah.
I just feel like I would want to not be offensive.
You need to speak in the
Hold
mic.
on.
Yeah.
Keisha, you need to come back on the mic with that because that was powerful.
Keisha is insisting that it's
she's
about
having a
respect
part
for the
three.
culture and the people who have created this
Take
music.
that
Yeah.
mic, Keisha.
But go ahead and say it again, Keisha.
Yeah, saying
Yeah. And you can get your answer
Oh,
ready.
And just respecting a culture and a movement of people. And this thing was built on more than just about music. As Sister Sharon said earlier, it's about, in a time when we had nothing, and this is all we had to express ourselves and speak on the injustice of the people and where we're coming from and where we were. So just in reference to respecting that aspect of it, and like I said, the cultural aspect, I think Billboard should reconsider naming it the Caribbean, since everything, whether it's Haitian, Compa, Zouk, just saying Caribbean music charts, it would be so much more respectful and so much more. A lot of people will be so not mad at you guys for that.
Well, yeah.
More inclusive is what I mean.
No, I appreciate that, and as I said, I don't disagree. And maybe it is time that it be changed. But first and foremost, when we started this chart, we never ever, and it was never our intention to insult or degrade anyone. That's
we don't think it was done into,
just to go back, what we now call the R&B hip hop chart, it was originally called Race Records, and then it was called Black Records.
Oh yes.
It evolves.
We
It evolves,
right.
and this needs to evolve
Sure.
too. And
that was nice. Get the applause, Aaron.
so
Change is good.
But yeah, change is good, and and the thing is we're not going to always know what's resonating and what's not resonating unless everybody speaks up and lets us know. Because if we're offending someone every week, and no one's speaking up and saying, look, this is really now is considered just not nice
yes,
and offensive, we've got to, look at that.
So where do we find this?
Keisha, Mike.
You're speaking to the suggestion box.
Okay, you are.
I am the suggestion
That's why he's
box.
here.
You become a member of CPR and give us voice so we can speak to.
To Alex.
And you
say
did.
that.
Member of
And you
That's what
did,
he said.
which
You
is why
became
we're
a member,
here.
and that's why you're here. Right.
You know, but it's never meant to, inflame or
Right.
hurt or we want to just showcase and give something a proper home
Right.
so that it gives credit to these artists who are making the music who, because of the way the industry is or the way and the lack of sales we're getting, at least we're able to showcase and give something its home and get these names out there to people who
Absolutely.
don't know it.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
despite whatever we've called our charts over the years, it still means, from all the artists that I speak to, when they hit a Billboard chart, it means the world to them. And to me,
Yes.
that means something
yes,
to
of
me.
course.
And I take, my job very seriously
Sure.
because
And
of that.
It means something to us too, and we take it very
Yes.
seriously, which is why we have you here,
Yes.
Alex.
Yeah.
Because, like I said,
Yeah.
when I sent my email to Billboard, and I got a call in response, I was humbled first of all, and then I was even more humbled when Alex took 20 minutes
Yes.
to have a very lengthy
Thorough
conversation with me. Blew me away when I heard, what, listen to lyrics? We are talking about Reggae. Reggae music, I don't listen to lyrics. No, man, you're
All
mad.
about the lyrics.
That's why we're here this evening.
And then going on to how many of these people, where are they from, who are they purchasing? Well, all online retailers and stores that report to Nielsen, those sales are uploaded,
Right.
as well as artists' websites and revenue from when they sell a CD on tour. All that is reported, so it's the public, and these people are out there. Mind you, when you look at the sales of this album compared to our other albums, not as many people bought the CD, and it's because it's probably mostly her fan base who will buy anything she does. She can sing the phone book, they'll buy it. I know I do that with my favorite artists. They sang the phone book, I'd want it.
Right.
Can I stop you there a minute?
Yes.
'Cause you said something very important when you said, who is buying it? Jamaican reggae artists selling CDs on tour.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they make it into the Nielsen?
No.
If they're not reporting it, no, but they've
Exactly.
got to.
and they're
They're,
not going to because of the tax implications.
there you go.
You see, we gotta right.
It's
It's the
all-
tax implications. It's like a vicious circle.
It's a vicious cycle.
All right,
Yeah.
keep going. I'm sorry. I just had to.
No, but and that's who's buying it, and a lot of these albums will have big first weeks due to pre-order sales,
Right.
especially if the websites are offering get a tote bag and a poster signed, or the CD signed, or a special limited
Or like
edition.
BP and them do come down to the store, meet the artist. They
exactly,
do
and
that
they do
kind
the
of stuff.
autograph.
Yeah, those are big days for you,
So-
right?
And,
When you
and the
do those
point
things.
here is for you artists out there who aspire to make the Billboard charts, pay your taxes and get recorded. All right?
Exactly.
Get counted.
Exactly.
Get
Stop the
counted.
bandolo
Get,
business
get,
and
get,
be
a
about
good,
it.
get a good accountant and do the business right.
You like that?
Simple.
All right.
But-
I'm sorry.
Well,
Keep going.
No. So I mean that's where the sales are coming from. So it's all sales reported and verified from Nielsen Music, and legitimate. And yes, they don't have 100% of the market. And because they don't have 100% of the market, they know that they have this much of the market and that they don't have this much.
Right.
So there's a weighing system. So we have 98% of the market. So in this market, we're missing 0.4%. So they weigh it, saying if it's sold this much at all the stores that they have, this
let's
much.
project that.
But from my day-to-day knowledge and going into these stores, some of these stores are so entrenched in certain genres, like reggae or hip-hop or dance, and they don't report, and they wouldn't be selling the mainstream stuff, so it's still a bit skewed.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's but there's nothing that at this point in time we can do unless these stores are willing to come on board. And again, it's always a money issue, and reporting things. So it's not an easy slope, and we're just doing the best we can under the circumstances. We're still the most accurate methodology used in tracking sales for albums.
Thank you
And
so much for that
songs.
question, Keisha Martin.
Yes, Keisha.
Any other question from the floor? I see hands going up. Oh, you're scratching your face. Okay.
Is that a question? Scratch? Question? No? I wanted to
Go ahead,
read
Sharon.
something that was sent to me. A dear friend of mine who's listening, Adiyemi Hines, is in Trinidad right now, but he is a Londoner. But he's there. And he sent me something that might be too long for me to read. But his concern and what he wanted to bring to the fore, he's sharing with us that back in 78 and 79, a similar, oh no, stop, let me rewind. He said he has been taking an overall view of the state of reggae, having entered the industry in 67, Miss Pat. So he was there when you were as an assistant at Trojan Records, he says, and he has lived and observed the changes from rocksteady to reggae. He grew up following the sounds. He has sold the music, promoted the artists, and worked in the industry. That's how I met him when I lived in London and was working with several artists there. I met Adi. And he says in 78 and 79 they were having a similar discussion, right, like what we're having right now. And he remembers a meeting that took place at Supertone Records on Acre Lane in Brixton. And he says the genesis of that meeting was about improving the state of the industry. He said that was 78 to 79. Just to give you a little timeline, to show that CPR is on the right track, Brother C. Here we are, he said, fast forward 92, 93, 94, the rise of the business of reggae. There was a conference in Jamaica, and I remember that conference, Pat. I think you were at that conference. And the closing remarks by the chair at the time was Lloyd Stanberry, who remarked, and he says that the artists amongst us need to realize that they must put more emphasis on educating themselves. I hear us, you, all of us saying similar things. He said the vice chair, Babsy Grange at the time, said the benefits were tremendous because of the broad topics. She's saying the benefits of the event that they had was successful because of the broad topics they discussed and the informative workshops. We know that we have the makings of something that will benefit the artists and the industry personnel tremendously. Now, I'm saying that was 92, 93, 94. Where is that organization today? Right? So this is part of the problem that we have, or the challenge we have in this industry. We start to stop. To start, no continuity, right? He says then we move, then he's just showing us that you move through the 70s when you had all of this conscious music coming out, and it reflected the struggle of the people and what people were listening to. He mentioned Burning Spears and all those people, Burning Spear and all those people were having a direct impact on people's lives. And people used to meet up and play and say Irie and peace and love, because that's what they heard in the music, and they were portraying what they heard in the music. They were living a life of peace and love and Irie and oneness, he says. And he says, but then all the guns and slackness came about, and the whole educational aspect went. Okay? He says, so he's just sharing different things with us. 92. He says, in Trinidad, where he is now, reggae is everywhere. And he says, you won't believe some of the type of reggae that you'll hear there. That I've heard that too. And he says, every artist passes through Trinidad. He just had Jayut there in 2006. People are still talking about concerts by Garnet Silk. Sound systems have become, mainstays. Roots music sound systems. But on the radio, what you hear is what they call ragga. And we know what the ragga is, right? The ragga is what some of us would say is the dancehall. It's the fusion with reggae and soca. It's all of that gets lumped in under ragga. And he says, what I find wrong here is most of the concert promoters and people who are involved in the music, for them it's about money and not about the love of the music. And I think that speaks volumes, and I won't, but I think that brings us right back to where we are. The love of the music. The love of the music. I think it is the love of the music why we're all here. I think it's the love of the music why people are in the chat room. I think it's the love of the music why Miss Pat has dedicated the last 60 years of her life. It is the love of the music. But there's also a business, right, that must survive through this. And how do we educate these artists then, to let them know, to hear what Alex is saying, that listen, man, you have to get back to the business of making good music so you can sell a lot of records so that people can hear your music and appreciate. How do we get these artists to understand that not because Alex might show them on a Billboard chart one time that means they have arrived? They need to repeat that and do that, continuously. How do we let these artists know that a one song is not a one, it doesn't make them a superstar, right? How do we tell them that they have to keep going back to the well and doing better and better and better and better and better so that they can have a sustainable career?
I think most artists that have that drive and that thrive do it.
We have somebody on the line. Who is it? Oh, Agent, perfect. Carlyle, go ahead. Your mother is Agent Sasko is here.
Agent Sasko has just finished campaigning and is now.
Don't get
I'm just kidding. Agent Sasko has separated himself from the political activities going on in Jamaica and is joining us by telephone. Please patch him in.
And he has also separated himself from the folks there with this new album that he has released called Reggae.
Well, we can talk to him when we patch him in.
Is he here?
Is he on the line? Hello? Agent Sasko?
Push up 5. Make sure 5 is light, is lit, and it's all
Is
the
he
way up.
calling in by phone or?
And turn up the controls so folks can hear in the studio.
Okay, we're trying to get Agent Sasko in. Hello? All right. Agent Sasko.
Make sure that the thing is pressed down.
The secret
button.
agent business, I don't know.
Make sure the speaker button is pressed down. There
Hello?
it is, I hear him. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
There it is.
Greetings, Agent Sasko. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening as we ponder the question, what is reggae music? I'm joined here. I'm Carlyle McKetty, host of Real Talk. I'm hosting the State of Reggae Reception panel discussion. I'm joined by Brother Alex from Billboard, Miss Pat Chin of VP Records, and Sharon Gordon of the Coalition to Preserve Reggae Music. And interestingly, you just put out an album that pays homage to reggae music. You want to tell us a little bit about that album? I believe it dropped this past Friday.
Yes.
Yes, so first of all, no respect to the master there in studio, good evening. Big up Miss Pat, you don't know, no respect.
Thank you.
And, and all the other panelists are guests, But here's the thing now, I'm here myself twice because of this situation and it's kind of hard to concentrate. So,
Just work with it, Bo. Try work with
hello?
it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Do the best you can.
I'm going to have to try work with it. So here's the thing. This album now, the theory of reggaetivity, the whole concept behind this album and this whole approach was really to take a kind of musical splash, a musical look at the music, but in a academic kind of sense where you're pondering certain questions. And one question, as a matter of fact, one such skit on the album is, what is reggae?
Yeah.
How do we define reggae music? What are the distinguishing characteristics? What are the, where exactly did reggae come from? Where did it start? And I think even though this concept was developed kind of independently of what has been happening, with the music, I think it is certainly timely. Based on, we're seeing these questions arising over the past couple of, I would say, over the last year, especially, with all of the international, features of the music and, the question of when is it dancehall, when is it, or what is tropical house, all of these things. So what I wanted to do with the album was really explore, how reggae is presented, the different textures of the music in all its forms, from when it just became reggae from rocksteady and ska to when reggae was turning into dancehall, So, that full spectrum is what I try to cover in the music, in the project.
And I think that you have done, I'm here with you, Agent Sasko. I am very pleased with the album. I listened to first of all, when I read what you wrote, I was blown away, and I called Miss Pat
And I said to her, Miss Pat, you need to hear Agent Sasko Assassin's album. And I told her about it, and I said, my gosh, everything that he's saying is right in line with what we have been discussing. This is a conversation, Alex, that Miss Pat and I, we have had going on forever. And then we were getting ready to do the forum. And when I read what this young man had written, I said, how timely is this? And it really shows that, you know, you do have artists out there who have their fingers on the pulse of what is happening. And then when I listened to how he, as we in Jamaica said, build the music, build the tune them, you could tell that he took the time. And that's what I'd like you to, we were speaking before you came on, Agent Sasko. Alex was mentioning that, you know, part of the challenge that they face at Billboard is that a lot of these reggae albums just don't have the units to support them even being on the charts. They just are not selling. And I said to him, probably we need to have artists going back to the drawing board and probably utilizing the formula that Bob Marley or Peter or any of those folks used to become hit. And that's what you did. And this is the point. And that's what you did. You did that. And so talk to us, if you don't mind, for a moment, and tell me what has been the feedback that you're getting on an album like this.
Well, the feedback has been excellent so far. You know, I have to say, you know, it has been overwhelming. But interestingly enough, in the recording process and to try to keep the creative process as sincere as possible, I really try to make music forgetting about selling or thinking about selling one unit.
That's right there.
I think
you're being applauded, just so you know. Everyone is applauding you. Spontaneous applause you got a while ago. Yes.
And that's going to sell.
Yeah, man, respect. I mean, you know, I really had to just kind of disconnect myself from that kind of thinking of, you know, trying to sell a record and just go in the studio and really concentrate on the process itself and just, you know, just enjoy recording, you know, the songs and, you know, really enjoy the music. Like, you know, when I fell in love with music, I didn't know anything about this. I was maybe 3.5 years old or 4, just, you know, just fell in love with this art form and trying to understand and unravel everything there was to know and learn about it. And, you know, at that time, you know, you didn't know nothing about the business. As a matter of fact, I had no ambition to become an artist. So it was just about, you know, doing this thing because you love it. So I really tried to revisit that spirit in terms of recording this project. And you know, we just had fun, you know, recording with the musicians, and it was just the spirit of the music that led, you know, this project. In terms of there was no hierarchy or stratification on the sessions. It's not I am the artist, so may have more talk than you, you know, or you know, the little man who buy the food at daytime, or you know, I mean, just the man who hold the studio door, or whatever it is. Everybody had an equal say in terms of boy, that sound wicked, or no, I think you should have tried something different. You know what I mean? It really was just, boy, an incredible experience working on this thing. And then, you know, the ultimate, I guess, satisfaction now comes from people really receiving it as such and saying, boy, you know, they really love this. It really said to me that, you know, this is how approach should be, you know.
Ashe, I really, really appreciate everything you just said. And you actually kind of agreed, kind of showed folks that what we said earlier was true. When we said that it's a synergy. When you go in studio, it's a synergy.
Were you listening to our conversation for the past hour and a half?
No, not at all. I mean, I just got in and you know, I was Sharon called me and gave me the number for me to call in. I'm sorry that I couldn't really be a part of the discussion in its true sense because, you know, I'd really like to also, you know, learn from the contributions of the other guests, you know, but, you know, I do my best.
Well, we're going to put it out there to you right now that we would love to invite you in when you come in to New York. We'd love to invite you in to come into the program, like Ms. Pat is saying, promote your album, and to come and know that you have a platform here from which you can speak and you know, express to your fans why and how and all of that, because this album that you have created to me is a milestone. I mean, absolute milestone. And I think that
what you did when you said that you weren't thinking about the money, but you did it for the love of the music. I think right there that speaks volume. Go ahead, Miss Pat.
Yes, when you said you didn't do it for the money, that's the freedom that you had to just express yourself and not thinking about money. And that's what's missing in a lot of the music.
That is what is missing in the music.
Yeah, for sure. It is real freedom. You have a real creative freedom, and you just concentrate on the process itself. You know, so I try to not think of anything external. Just pretty much what I wanted the album to sound like, and the mood of it. But that was it.
And I can really identify with that, because I remember one time when Dennis Brown wanted to produce himself. It was so much stress about the expenses of things that he had to pay that he really didn't, he didn't have his true self, because he was thinking of his expenses.
Yes.
When he's singing it for somebody, it's free and he doesn't think about expenses. But when he's doing it for himself, it's such a different mode.
Freedom.
The freedom that he didn't have. That's why the artists sometimes cannot produce themselves. But I like what you said. You went in it freely, not thinking about expense and money, just doing what you love from your heart and soul. And that's what the people love in a true reggae music.
Yes, absolutely.
Can
Folks are applauding you, Miss Pat. Go ahead, Bryson.
I want to add to that, Agent Sasko, and I like the name change. I like the name change.
Yes, me too.
I want to add to that, though, because you said something about you weren't really thinking of being an artist. But I want to tell you that the process that you just laid out in how you went about doing this album, in my book, is what defines an artist. And
Absolutely.
I say all the time that there's a difference between an artist and a performer.
Always.
You are more than a performer. You're an artist, or anybody who takes the process that you just described in putting a product together like you did is an artist, and I commend you and respect you for it. I really have to say that.
Oh, thank you.
I listened to the album from beginning to end, and I was smiles all the way through.
By the way, Agent Sasko, him first, me listen to it before me. So when me call him now, and I say, Brother C, you have to listen to the album. Very coolly, he said to me, I've listened to it already, and it's very good. Just flop me. Just flop me, Agent Sasko. Just flop me, so. But I've been telling everybody about the album, and
thank you very much.
You really, really, I think you're right on time with it. We know it's election night, so I don't want to hold you up too much, but right now, I would like to say to you, and Brother C, I'd like to invite Agent Sasko to come in and be here with us.
Yeah, well,
as soon
of
as
course,
you reach
when I'm in town.
Yes,
I
please.
definitely
Absolutely.
would
We'd
like
love to
come
stretch
through
out with
and
you
be
in
a
the
part
studio.
of the discussion.
Yeah, man, we have to stretch out with you. We need to stretch out with you. In the chat room, though, I want you to know that folks are loving you, saying one of the best artists, big up Sasko, coming from Rough Scott, who is listening in the chat room and just said that about you, okay? So you must know.
Respect.
Yes.
I want to make an observation. And I know artists don't like comparisons, but some years ago, Busy Signal did an album called Reggae Music Again. And Busy Signal, a dancehall artist who I believe was also paying tribute to reggae music.
He did.
What is it that draws a good dancehall artist like yourself or like Busy to want to pay this tribute and homage to reggae music? What is it about reggae music? What is reggae music is the subject of this evening's conversation. And you've done reggaetivity. Tell us about it.
Well, for me, I'm a lover of the art form in its full, reality. So from reggae to dancehall, I look at it as our music, and I don't draw this impenetrable line between them. It's just that I've been expressing myself for the most part with dancehall music, but not to say that I haven't done, because I've done reggae songs from the beginning of my career. But once again, I think it all comes to even the name extension, because it's not a name change necessarily. I'm still Assassin when it is necessary to be Assassin. But Agent Sasko,
No, you're going to kill
Yeah,
them
but-
still, you know.
Like when kill them on the
man,
Grammys
but
the other
it-
night with Kendrick Lamar. I kill him, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Murderation going on, you know.
Yeah, man, respect. The hip hop community seems to be feeling, more the assassin kind of vibe. But Agent Sasko was I guess born of just becoming a more mature assassin. My career started and I was pretty much 16 and a half. And after close to now 15 years, I've grown what I would have liked to believe, and I think my maturity is a lot different. I'm now a father, and I have a family and all those things, and I think that has played into who Agent Sasko is versus a 16-year-old assassin.
Sure.
And I think me having this strong conviction to do more reggae and to do a full reggae project is almost representative of a more mature way of expression. So dancehall, is of a certain texture and a certain tone and a certain mood and a certain vibe, and I think I've grown into a lot more of what the reggae vibe is about. And I must say, if we're going to talk about the definition of any music or reggae in particular as it relates to this discussion, is not about rhythm and beat, but it is also about the content.
You hear that?
And I
Listen,
think,
Sasko, you must have been listening, man.
Sasko, stop.
Sasko, rewind. Rewind.
We
Say
don't
that
come
again.
again.
Because I think, of course, if you want to look at music from the definition of, what is the beat pattern, what the drums sound like on a reggae song, what is the guitar, we have the little check and the, I say it on the record, we have the check in the strumming, which is, just the way the guitar is played, the way the bass lines go, music can be defined based on its musical composition, I agree, but in reggae in particular, I think the content, certainly is a very significant part of the definition of the music, and so in recognizing that, if you listen to the album, we really try to keep the reggae themes going, and it is more than just ja and weed, it goes to talking about struggles and people's experiences and just life in general. I mean, if you want to take, Bob Marley and look at what he was able to do with his music, it wasn't just the beat. Get Up, Stand Up wasn't about the rhythm. It's about, people feeling inspired and moved by the music. And so, the beat is pretty much laying the platform for you to have this, it's a soundtrack to the story. You know what I mean? Brethren, you make me very, very,
proud.
very proud.
Very proud.
Extremely proud, and I'm happy to have made it possible for you to communicate this to the associate charts director of Billboard, sitting right here, listening to you, shaking his head, taking in everything you're saying. I feel like it's all right. We're done for the evening. We're done. I've done my work. Thank you so much, Assassin. You have just made my day.
You have just put the icing on the cake for us.
You hear that, Assassin? You want Miss Patsy?
You just sum it up so beautifully.
The icing on the cake. So you just put the icing on the cake. Yes.
Oh yeah, man, enough respect, but and like I said, I'm happy to contribute, and I'm happy to always represent my music, and really just try to contribute to its development. From day one, like I say, something that I love and I have real passion and there's a sincere appreciation for, and I'm just happy to do what I can to help the music to move forward.
I'm wondering if Alex would care to comment on what he's just heard from this mature assassin.
The Agent Sasko.
I mean, I'm absorbing everything in, and I appreciate all comments and aspects and education, because as I say, I don't know everything, and like I said, with everything that's been discussed here, I will definitely be taking to my bosses and let them know, and we have a dialogue going, and we can continue to move forward to hopefully properly articulate and what the music encompasses, that it's not devaluing in your opinions or taking away from what the essence of the true meaning of reggae means to the community.
Well, yes. Well, thank you so much for contributing that, Assassin. As Miss Pat said, you just put the icing on the cake
Yeah, man.
for us. Me have beat
Yeah,
up my
man.
gum all evening, and you just come sort out the thing.
Yeah, man. And so easy too.
Yes.
Him do it so
Well,
easy. Like,
well,
like
no
you know,
respect.
just so easy.
No respect, man. So
Yes.
listen, guys, enjoy the rest of the evening, and I'm confident that this discussion, will move the mission forward in terms of the discussions that we need to be having so that the music can continue to develop in the right way.
Thank
Hold
you
on.
Thank you.
Hold
Thank
on,
you
don't
so
go
much.
anywhere,
Yeah,
Agent
man,
Sasko.
respect.
Hold on,
Absolutely.
everybody. Hold on.
of the conversation.
Hold on, brother. See something going on. But tell him what.
I have something to say.
Oh, Agent Sasko, there's a very beautiful lady. Two people in the audience and
Y'all
stuff they
gotta
want to
come
say
on.
to you.
Boy,
So hold on.
you see where you
Keisha
start,
Martin, you
brethren?
saw you start, Agent Sasko. Keisha Martin and Rasa Sajo who both want to talk to you. So hold on. Put it over your head, Keisha. Yeah.
Yes, brother assassin. So I
Yeah,
just
man.
wanted you to listen for this response for the question, because I, as an honorary CPR member, will be campaigning for your album to make the Billboard chart. So how many copies? How many copies of Agent Sasko's album have to be sold to make this chart?
It can vary week to week. It depends on the sales. The sales fluctuate.
I know, but tell me what's the number? I need some numbers. I need numbers.
Say no.
You have to
Alex,
sell
no.
enough.
Listen, we are campaigning. Listen, from now on, CPR is gonna create and we're just gonna keep on. Listen,
Yes.
buy the album.
Buy the album.
It's worth it. Every penny.
And I'm also telling him that I'm going to.
Here we go on VP. Miss Pat is on board. So I thank you, and I'm definitely behind this album 100%, and we're gonna promote that Agent Sasko. Big up yourself.
That is good. Hold on.
Good night. Good
No,
night.
don't go anywhere. More coming. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Greetings, Agent Sasko. This is for the Billboard. I know that you're in charts, right?
Yes.
Years ago, I was a part of a project out of Williamsburg known as the True Mystic Sound System. Someone from Billboard did a review. So I did a review that even I got my name in it, and it was so great for me, like you say, when people get a block. How would Agent Sasko, what would he have to do to get his stuff being...
The beautiful woman standing right beside you there, she is the person you would want to reach out to. She covers our reggae beat for us.
Okay, and
That would be Pat Mesquite in the house.
Mesquite
Right.
in the house.
Say your name.
my name is Rasa Sajifu. Them know me. All right, But that's what I want to know. How would Agent Sasko be able to get his album review so more people can know about it?
You would contact Pat over there, and she can take it from there.
All right. Blessed, everyone.
Working together to make things work is what we do here at CPR. And Pat Mesquino
Yeah.
wants to say a word.
In the
Hold
house.
on, Agent Sasko. Hold on. You might want to hear what Pat Mesquino has to say.
Didn't hear the album yet.
Good night, Agent Sasko. Pleasure to talk to you, and
Hello.
good night to CPR
Good evening.
and everyone here. This has been a great evening, very educational, bit controversial, but it wouldn't be CPR if it wasn't.
Exactly.
And
Come on.
that's where we learn the
Like
most
this
from.
was
But for
controversial?
Agent Sasko,
This was controversy?
Agent Sasko, I had a question for you. I have heard your album too, and it's wonderful, and it's definitely something I plan to write something about. It's an excellent project, and it's great to
thank
hear
you.
the thought that went into the whole process of making it. But my question to you is, what sort of marketing plan do you have for it? Because we've seen, Sharon alluded to an album released last year. She didn't mention the artist,
you know who it
but
is.
she alluded to an artist who made a very good album. Again, she didn't mention, I think I know who she's speaking about. Excellent album, but it didn't even land in the top 10 for very long on the Billboard charts. And I know it wasn't for the artistry of it. It was just the artist came through New York once, and that was it. So I was just wondering, not that New York is the be all and end all, but we are a major city.
Oh, yeah.
I just wondered your plans for marketing the album so people know about it, what you might be doing differently than your previous album. So we really, it's not just about the sales don't just happen because of the quality. There has to be a strategy behind it. So as an older artist now,
that is very
just
important.
what your plan is to get the word out about your great work.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. And that's very important.
Well, of course, a lot of considerations, we'll have to go into marketing, anything these days. One such consideration is, of course, the economics of the situation. Like, of course, we would like to be, in every city promoting and, whatever and all of that great stuff, but it's an independent project, and it means that, we're going to have a significant economical constraint, with that. And so, that being said, you have to get creative. So we know social media now is inexpensive, but it has reach, and outside of that, call-ins and you go to cities whenever you can, and when you're in a city for other business, you stay a couple of days, and put it this way, I know that if I don't have the dollar to spend, then I will have to spend something else, and sweat is one such thing, and time, is another thing, and just trying to be very strategic, as you say, and efficient and smart about it. But for sure, I didn't make this album for it to just be something for me to enjoy. And so if it means that I need to put in the sweat now for people to know of it, and then we're willing to explore all of those things. With all things considered, but for sure, it's not something that I'm going to casually just be like, no, I'm willing to do all I can to keep this thing going. Of course, and the team too. Like it's not just me. Clearly, I have a team of people, and we're trying to expand the team and do as much as we can with it.
Team Sasko, they're
Great
saying.
answer. Thank you for that.
Keisha Martin says to tell you, it's Team Sasko, we said. We said Team Sasko.
Yeah, man.
Agent Sasko, I want to thank you for joining us this evening.
And thank Sharon Burke too, Brother
This was
Carlyle.
very refreshing. Give our regards to Sister Sharon Burke down there, making it happen. Look forward to having you in studio.
Man.
Look forward to you coming to New York. Look forward to some outstanding numbers on this album, because I think it will do a lot for reggae music. And I want to join with all the folk in this room, Miss Pat, Alex, Sharon, and everyone here in congratulating you on a very fine job. Very, very fine job. Congratulations. Total
Thank you much. Thank you much.
Respect.
At this time,
Congratulations.
I have to say, of course.
Them tapping you. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to big up the musicians. I want to big up the producers on this project. I want to big up the engineers. There's so many people contributed to this project, from artwork to just everything. Of course, as I said, Team Sasko, big up Solid Agency. A lot of people contributed to this album, and I just really want to extend my gratitude to them. If I start calling name, I'm going done the program. I just want to thank you.
Call some name, man.
No,
man. So respect, and thank you guys for having me
Respect to
tonight.
all.
And, good night to the panelists again, and the studio audience, and of course all the listeners.
I love it. And Sasko, can I just say one thing before you go? You don't watch Grammys in a boo, but can I tell you? You see, when them send me the link, when Black of the Berry, come on, and me hear the thing, brethren, me jump up and down like me in a pucker me in your yard, I summer feeling, brethren. Come here, tell you, say you nice up the thing, and it show the power of the music when you come with good lyrics.
Yeah,
if
man.
you never have good lyrics,
that was an excellent moment.
it was beautiful, my brother. So be proud, big up your chest, and on top of that, you come with this